My name is Uchiha Mikoto, I am 15 years old, and I come from the Uchiha clan of Konoha village in the land of fire. That, although I am a girl, I am already a Chunin, and a Chunin with the Sharingan. The Sharingan is the bloodline limit of our Uchiha clan. The meaning of Chunin is a ninja who can enter the battlefield alone. Of course, these are not important. What is important is the way I open my Sharingan eyes. According to outside rumors, the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan is a pair of eyes full of curses. If you want to awaken the Sharingan, you must go through the test of blood and tears. But this is not the case for me. I remember that my eyes awakened when I first met Orochimaru-sama at the age of 11. That night, he gave himself a special potion. On the advice of his father and the patriarch, he used this potion himself. After a period of pain, I thought I was going to lose my sight, but my eyes opened inexplicably. And for such a long time, there seems to be no side effects at all. I remember that I was still stupid at that time and didn't know anything. I don't know the importance of this potion, and I don't know why Orochimaru-sama gave him such a valuable thing. I just think that Lord Orochimaru is so powerful that he can actually open the eyes of the Uchiha clansmen in this way. Even his father, who always had his eyes on the top, was full of praise for him. But as time goes by, I grow up slowly, and I gradually understand many things. Suddenly, I felt that Lord Orochimaru was even more powerful. Not only can he develop ninja tools, but his strength is also ridiculously exaggerated. A large number of scientific research results came out, leading the Uchiha clan to repel the Sand Ninja. Defeating the leader of the Rain Ninja village, Sanshou Hanzo, became famous in the ninja world. The entire village regards Lord Orochimaru as an idol. Among them, of course, myself is included. What was even more unexpected was that the first time he entered the battlefield, he would be able to join his idol's team. This feeling is really happy. And on the battlefield, Lord Orochimaru is really experienced, and he also takes good care of himself, a newcomer. Although he speaks coldly and is very inhumane, he can always stand in front of him when he encounters danger. Being with Lord Orochimaru makes me feel really safe. If I want to find a partner in the future, I might want to find a powerful ninja like Lord Orochimaru. Thinking of this, Uchiha Mikoto showed a sweet smile on her lips. Feeling the whistling wind in my ears, I looked at the giant python with purple patterns at my feet. She couldn't help but speak. That, Lord Wanshi, are we really going to abandon Lord Orochimaru like this? Yes, Lord Wanji, although Lord Orochimaru is very strong, he is facing the third Kazekage. Another Chunin also echoed. And the number of enemies, I'm afraid. Hearing everyone's words, Wanshi, who was crawling quickly, was a little surprised, and then smiled coldly. How? Are you prepared to go back and delay? Drag, holding back? A few people were stunned at the same time. That's right, when it comes to facing the Kazekage, let alone the Chunin like them, even the Jounin flow next to them will be a hindrance when they go back. Okay, stop talking nonsense, I will take you here. If you are too far away from that guy, the psychic spell will be automatically released. I have to go back and deal with the pursuers. Sorry to trouble you, Master Wanshi. Boom boom boom. In the dual field created by Orochimaru using earth release, countless loud noises came from inside. Magnetic release sand iron knot attack. Buzz. Hammers and awls made of black sand and iron floated in the sky, spinning around like tops, chasing Orochimaru. Orochimaru jumped around in the field to avoid it. It looks like a mess, but in fact it's quite easy. Looking carefully, there was smoke and dust everywhere, and there were potholes everywhere. The bodies of the Sand Ninja were also lying on the ground. At first glance, it looked like a large-scale battle had taken place. And the third Kazekage raised his hands, and countless pieces of iron sand flew out of his sleeves. His eyes were staring closely at Orochimaru. This guy. Orochimaru raised his lips as he dodged the iron awl, and his figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. Snapped. Reappeared behind the third-generation Kazekage. Orochimaru put his hands together, and his entire momentum surged instantly. Chakra spurts out like crazy without money. Try this trick from me. Psychic, 10,000 snake formation. Hiss. Hiss. Countless snakes flew out of Orochimaru's sleeves with their tempers spitting out. These snakes quickly became more numerous after they came out. 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, and 8 became 10. 6. It only took a few seconds for a few giant pythons to turn into an overwhelming swarm of snakes. So strong. Facing such a huge group of snakes, the third Kazekage did not dare to be careless and quickly controlled his sand iron to harvest the snake group. Puff puff. A large number of snakes were chopped into pieces by awls made of sand and iron. What kind of showdown is this? Terrible. Can Orochimaru, the Sunin, actually push the Kazekage-sama to this extent? The sand ninjas who had not caught up with the 10,000 snakes stood outside the duel and watched from a distance. Although they also wanted to join in and besiege Orochimaru, they simply couldn't get involved in a battle of this level. Going in, there is no use at all except for causing trouble for his own Kazekage. In the field, Orochimaru took advantage of the time when the third Kazekage harvested the giant python, stretched out his right hand, the space fluctuated, and the grass sword with silver light appeared in his hands. Facing the third Kazekage, Orochimaru has used all his trump cards. The opponent is a shadow after all, and his combat power is naturally not comparable to that of a scumbag ninja. Therefore, it is appropriate to be more serious. Seeing Orochimaru disappear again, just now the third Kazekage who blocked the 10,000 snake formation was inexplicably horrified. This guy's speed is really fast, like the rumored second-generation Hokage, the fastest in the ninja world? But he didn't have time to think too much, he quickly tapped the ground with his toes, and while avoiding Orochimaru's attack, he instantly jumped into the air. Huge black wings appeared behind him. Magnetic escape sand iron sky wing. The black wings flapped slightly and flew up with the third Kazekage. Seeing the third Kazekage flying in the sky, Orochimaru was stunned for a moment, and then there was a hint of fanaticism in his eyes. Flying? I love this ability. Orochimaru, I admit that you are very strong, but let's stop there. As soon as the third Kazekage finished speaking, the hammer and awl made of sand and iron merged together, fell freely from top to bottom, and quickly split and bloomed. Magnetic escape sand iron boundary technique. The wings of the third Kazekage were made of black sand and iron, and he was flying condescendingly in the air at this time. He was surprised that Orochimaru possessed the legendary speed of the second-generation Hokage, and he also understood why his previous subordinates died so quickly. Even he couldn't resist such a fast instantaneous technique. Therefore, knowing this, he was not prepared to confront Orochimaru head-on. He prepared to use his aerial superiority to defeat Orochimaru. Sand and iron boundary method, the form with the strongest attack, limited range, and density. The sand iron is like a skynet that keeps getting bigger, wrapping Orochimaru in it. Falling from the sky, overwhelming. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru curled up his lips. Swish, swish, swish. Boom boom boom. Countless iron branches composed of black sand and iron penetrated the soil around Orochimaru without mercy. Densely packed and powerful. The strong penetration made the entire dual field roar. The ground shattered, and a large amount of smoke and dust once again blocked everyone's sight. Awesome, Kazekage-sama. Finished. Probably. No one can avoid this move from Lord Kazekage. Oops. No good. Kazekage-sama, be careful. Looking at the battle in the field, everyone in the Sand Ninja exclaimed. As soon as he finished speaking, a special kunao shot out from the smoke with a cold light. The kunao's attack angle was unusually tricky, and it went straight towards the third Kazekage. Faced with this level of attack, the third Kazekage didn't even move. Buzz! The invisible power spread instantly. The kunao stopped 2 meters away from the third Kazekage, as if blocked by some force. It's hard to move forward even half a minute. Humph, such a level of attack, the third Kazekage said disdainfully. He has magnetic escape, so any metal attack is ineffective against him. Metal, including Orochimaru's Kusanagi sword. But the next second, whoosh! A figure suddenly appeared where the kunao stayed. The third Kazekage's eyes were slightly stern, and he glanced at the other party subconsciously, and a pair of scarlet pupils suddenly came into his eyes. There are 3 black commas in the middle of the pupil. The black commas form a strange shape and are connected by a line with a special pattern. This is, oops! Seeing these eyes, the third generation Hokage's expression changed. The secret was not good. He wanted to close his eyes, but a strong sense of dizziness had already entered his mind. Then, the magnetic field formed around him dissipated instantly, and the man was falling rapidly. As he was falling, he had only one thought. Orochimaru had the Sharingan? How is it possible? The third Kazekage had experience fighting against the Sharingan, and he also had most of Orochimaru's information. But he had never thought about Orochimaru. Will there be a Sharingan? How could Orochimaru have a Sharingan? And this eye power seems to be stronger than any other Uchiha clansman? While he was thinking, a long sword flashing with silver light came from the ground and hit him while he was falling. Kusanagi sword? Orochimaru returned to the surface? Flying Thunder God again? The third Kazekage, who was still in the air and was hit by the eye force, had no time to dodge. Phew! The Kusanagi sword pierced his heart. Lord Kazekage! Lord Kazekage! The sand ninjas exclaimed. And most of them were stunned at the scene in front of them. They had no idea what just happened. Whoosh! Orochimaru took advantage of the victory to pursue, and the Flying Thunder God followed up again and stuck to the Kusanagi sword. Looking carefully, the hilt of the Kusanagi sword is actually engraved with the Flying Thunder God technique. Goodbye! A cold voice sounded faintly, and then Orochimaru's figure flashed several times in succession. Blood splashed into the air. Bang! The 2 of them fell to the ground one after another. But Orochimaru landed naturally, and the third generation, however, Feng Ying, has died and turned into a corpse. Why did the third Kazekage dare to snipe Orochimaru? One is because of personal strength. The other one is because he collected information about Orochimaru. You know, ninja fighting, especially master duels. Ninja's personal information is a very important part. Just like when Jiraiya fought against Pain in the original. Pain had some knowledge of Jiraiya's information, but Jiraiya had no idea about Pain's information. As a result, Jiraiya was naturally killed by Pain. Orochimaru believed that Jiraiya had personal information about Pain at that time. If the 2 of them had to fight to the death, even if Jiraiya couldn't defeat him, he would never lose so miserably. And the same is true for the current third Kazekage. He knows that Orochimaru is very fast, and he also knows that Orochimaru likes to play with snakes, but his abilities are not afraid of these at all. So he was confident. Even though Orochimaru later used Flying Thunder God, which surprised him, he quickly cracked it through his battlefield experience. He has magnetic escape, so the Flying Thunder God kunao can't get close to him, and he can also control these kunao. It is difficult for Orochimaru's Flying Thunder God to exert its due effect. Therefore, he is confident. But despite all his calculations, he didn't expect that Orochimaru would have the Sharingan, and that his power would be so strong. This is simply beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Why does Orochimaru have the Sharingan? Or a kaleidoscope? He didn't understand it until he died. As for Orochimaru, the third Kazekage's ability does restrain him somewhat. If he doesn't rely on Sharingan and would release, maybe he himself will be fine, but it is really difficult to kill the opponent. The grass sword and kunai have lost their effect. With Xiao Hei's information being mastered by the other party, do you want to rely on Xiao Hei to sneak attack the shadow level? It's impossible. Therefore, if Orochimaru wants to defeat the third Kazekage, he can really only rely on Mangekyo and the Flying Thunder God. Use the kaleidoscope to avoid the sand-iron boundary technique from the gap, then use the Flying Thunder God to get close to him, and then rely on the Sharingan's gaze to activate the illusion. Although his eye power is not as good as Uchiha Madara's now, the third Kazekage is not as good as the fourth Raikage in resisting Genjutsu. Therefore, the third Kazekage, who was not prepared for the Mangekyo Sharingan, was struck by it. The Flying Thunder God is so fast, it only takes one slight mistake to put him in a desperate situation. At this time, the Sand Ninjas saw their shadows suddenly killed in battle and did not react at all. The battle ended so quickly and from such a long distance, they couldn't see Orochimaru's eyes. So they don't even know how the third Kazekage was defeated. Why did the good-looking one fall from the sky? When they came to their senses and swarmed up, Orochimaru had already taken the blood and left. The third Kazekage was dead, and he was in no mood to fight with these miscellaneous soldiers. Not only was it time-consuming and labor-intensive, but it also had no benefits. After a few leaps and jumps and the Thunder God's teleportation, he quickly disappeared from the sight of the Sand Ninja. How come? Lord Kazekage, actually. The Sand Ninjas rushed over and looked at the body of the third Kazekage on the ground, speechless for a long time. Magnetic escape? It seems to be somewhat useful. Not only can I use absolute defense similar to Gaara, but I can also fly. What is the principle of just flying? Change the magnetic field around itself. In the jungle, Orochimaru was walking slowly forward, murmuring to himself. His defensive abilities were of little use to him, but his flying ability was a bit interesting. Judging from the performance of the third Kazekage just now, this ability allows me to fly, but it's not particularly fast. The height isn't ideal either. But, it's better than nothing. Forget it, it's good to have some that are useful, you can't be picky. Orochimaru said to himself in his heart. He has now merged the genes of the first Hokage and the Uchiha clan, so the general blood succession limits have no effect on him. After all, the power of the wood release and the Sharingan is there. On the blood succession limitation, which blood successor can compare with these two powers? But this magnetic escape does have some effect, and it can be barely integrated. Lord Orochimaru. A crisp and gentle voice interrupted Orochimaru's thoughts, and then, whoosh whoosh. Several figures fell in front of Orochimaru. Orochimaru raised his head and glanced at the person. It's Mikoto, you guys are okay? Var. Without, fine. Uchiha Mikoto was stunned. At this time, shouldn't he be the one asking this kind of question? Well, Lord Orochimaru, you. I'm fine. Orochimaru seemed to know what Mikoto was going to say, and waved his hand to interrupt Uchiha Mikoto. Fine? Those 3 generations of wind shadows died. Ha? Died. The conversation between the two was extremely concise and clear, but it left everyone stunned. No, no way. Was the third Kazekage really killed by Orochimaru-sama? Looking at Orochimaru, who was not injured even though his whole body was covered in dust, they looked incredulous. Not injured? To deal with the third Kazekage without injury? Still surrounded by so many enemies? Are you kidding me? No fuss. Orochimaru looked indifferent. Let's go back. Once the Kazekage dies, I believe it won't be long before they retreat. Orochimaru said casually, and the brains of several people were obviously a little down. When they came to their senses, Orochimaru had already walked away. Several people quickly followed. The third Kazekage was killed by Orochimaru of Konoha on the battlefield. The news quickly spread back to the Suna ninja defense line in Konohagakure. Everyone's first reaction when receiving the news was disbelief. Because the strength of the third Kazekage is there, even if someone can defeat him on the battlefield, but wants to kill him? There are not many people in the entire ninja world who can do it. Even if a shadow-level powerhouse comes, the best outcome is that both sides will suffer losses. Orochimaru, a disciple of the Hokage, what should he use to kill him? But not long after, the Suna ninja really retreated, and the news of the death of the third Kazekage was quickly spread back to the Suna ninja defense line in Konoha. Now that the facts are before their eyes, they can't help but believe it. So this news was like a bombshell, spreading from 1 to 10, and then to 100. Soon it spread throughout the entire Konoha village. So the whole village of Konoha was shocked. Has Orochimaru grown to this point? Sitting in the Hokage's office, the third Hokage was stunned when he got the news. Because he knew that facing the third Kazekage, even he would only be 60 or 40 at most. What kind of strength is Orochimaru? How could he possibly defeat the third Kazekage? Sarutobi Hiruzen thinks it would be good to have a tie. What a surprise! Yes, but this is good news for us. Indeed, with the Suna ninja retreating, Iwa Ninja Village may not be able to hold on for long. Sarutobi, your disciple is really not simple. The top management of Konoha no longer knows how many times they have been shocked by Orochimaru. Logically speaking, they should have been used to it. But every time, what Orochimaru does can give them a different experience. Such a shocking feeling. The third Kazekage was killed in battle, causing chaos in the Sand Ninja village in the country of Wind. After the Sand Ninja retreated, Orochimaru and Uchiha Mikoto quickly rushed to the Iwa Ninja battlefield. Facing the attack from both countries, Iwa Ninja was overwhelmed and was finally forced to surrender. As a result, Suna Ninja and Iwa Ninja were defeated, and Konoha village won a great victory. The Second Ninja War also ended several years early because of Orochimaru's shocking move of killing the third Kazekage. This year, Orochimaru is 25 years old. The third Kazekage is dead? Killed by Orochimaru? When this news spread to other countries in the ninja world, they were also shocked and inexplicable. Does Orochimaru of Konoha have the strength to kill Kage? Moreover, this Kage is the third Kazekage of Suna Ninja? They knew very well how strong the third Kazekage was. There is nothing wrong with saying he is the strongest among the Kazekage. Orochimaru was able to kill him in the middle of the chaos. Doesn't that mean that Orochimaru's strength has surpassed the Kage level? Not only has Konoha developed so many high technologies, but it also has an extra shadow level powerhouse? You know, although shadow is just a title, this title definitely has a certain authority. In the entire ninja world, only the heads of ninja villages from the 5 major countries are qualified to be called shadows. Shadow, this is not only a symbol of honor, but also a symbol of strength. How can a person who can become the shadow of a big country be on an equal footing with other big countries without any strength? Therefore, after World War II, Orochimaru immediately became a well-known figure in the ninja world. The popularity is comparable to that of Sancho Fish Hanzo in Omegakure village. No, it should be more famous than Sancho Fish Hanzo. Because even Sancho Hanzo once suffered defeat at the hands of Orochimaru. On the other side of the Sand Ninja village, because the third Kazekage was killed in battle, the Kingdom of Wind now has no candidate for the Kazekage. So currently, Cho and Ebizo are temporarily doing the work of Kazekage. However, because of Feng Ying's death, their vitality was severely damaged. Coupled with the conflict with the Iwa Ninja village, it can be said to be internal and external troubles. If it weren't for the fact that Iwa Ninja village also suffered a lot of losses, it is estimated that they would have suffered a fierce attack from Iwa Ninja village. Of course, the best place to live now is Konoha. Although the casualties were not small, they had won the battle and minimized the losses, so they are now celebrating with the whole village. Lord Orochimaru, look over here. Long live my lord! Lord Orochimaru is so awesome! Orochimaru-sama, I love you! After returning to Konoha village, walking on the street, Orochimaru suddenly became the target of everyone's pursuit. There is no way, the reason why this war can end so quickly is absolutely inseparable from Orochimaru's killing of the third Kazekage. After returning to the village, Tsunade, who returned to the village before Orochimaru, also immediately sent her a hug. Ha ha ha, Orochimaru, you are so awesome! In the big crowd, Tsunade didn't care about the eyes of others and just threw herself into Orochimaru's arms. At this moment, as Orochimaru's woman, she felt extremely proud. Orochimaru defeated the third Kazekage. This battle can definitely be said to have changed the direction of the entire war. Just like the Kana Bridge battle fought by Minato Namikaze during World War III. Hugging his woman, Orochimaru smiled slightly. Wait for me to see the teacher. I will go with you. Tsunade nodded like a chicken, holding Orochimaru's hand and walked towards the Hokage's office. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen has been waiting for a long time. The top management of Konoha is also very satisfied with Orochimaru's performance. Although he didn't know what happened at the time of the battle, Orochimaru had already eliminated the third Kazekage before reinforcements arrived, which was indeed surprising and pleasant news. Konoha won the battle, and Orochimaru also received a high honor. Everything looks so beautiful. Perhaps only as the Hokage of Konoha village, now it is a mixture of joy and sorrow. The joy is that Konoha has won a great victory, and Orochimaru helped the village reduce a lot of losses. The worry is that Orochimaru now his strength is getting stronger and his voice is getting louder. And he is so close to Danzo? This makes him extremely uncomfortable. However, now he has no time to care about Orochimaru's problem because the diplomatic relations between the great powers were waiting for him, the Hokage, to handle. So he just praised Orochimaru and Tsunade and let Orochimaru and Tsunade leave. In terms of diplomacy, because Konoha has the Sunin support scene, and Orochimaru at the same time Maru killed the Kazekage. So this time Konoha used a strong attitude to demand compensation from the Suna ninja and the Iwa ninja, and also questioned the Kingdom of Thunder about snatching the tailed beast. Because the Suna ninja suffered a defeat, and the Kazekage died at the same time, so they had no choice but to bow down like the Leaf Village. And the Iwa ninja? Although their Tsuchikage was not killed, they experienced many defeats. In the end, they were attacked from both sides and suffered heavy losses. So they could only surrender to the Hidden Leaf Village. Konoha temporarily compromised. As for the Kingdom of Thunder? Because they helped Konoha a lot, and the Kumo ninjas who kidnapped Kyuubi died, in the end they were able to overcome the problem. Although the Kumo ninja side was I was unhappy, but I didn't say anything for the time being. With this, the second ninja war was officially over. Orochimaru, let's have a drink together. Can. Out of the door of the Hokage's office, Tsunade invited Orochimaru. Orochimaru nodded slightly. The war ended early, and everything seemed to have returned to peace. Orochimaru also needs to relax. The two of them alone, when we arrived at the tavern, we sat across from each other. The food and drinks were quickly served. Tsunade raised her glass without hesitation and faced Orochimaru. Orochimaru, I really didn't expect that you already have the strength to kill Kage alone. When did you become so strong? Defeating Kage? This is no joke. This is completely different from the original battle against Sancho Hanzo. Can 3-on-1 be the same as 1-on-many? And this is not a simple defeat, but a kill. Kill. The target is still the third Kazekage. She, Tsunade, also finds it incredible. This is nothing, just an intelligence gap. Orochimaru said calmly. The third Kazekage is not as weak as he thought. He was able to defeat the third Kazekage just because of a lack of intelligence. The Flying Thunder God, the Mangeki Sharingan and the huge amount of chakra of the immortal body, any one ability can give him the capital to fight against the shadow. And these abilities together are enough for him to kill the shadow-level powerhouse. And it just so happens that these three abilities are the information that the Sand Ninja has never obtained. Here, when such information is not equal, it is naturally much easier to deal with it. Orochimaru believes that if Suna Ninja has this information about him, he will definitely not come over and fight him. And even if he wants to come, he will fight against him. I am prepared for these abilities. In this case, it may still be possible to defeat the third Kazekage, but want to kill? It is not that difficult. Poor information? Tsunade smiled. Haha, that's right. After all, even I don't know your fighting power. How could the Sand Ninja know? After Tsunade finished speaking, she poured herself a glass and drank it in one gulp. Hearing this and seeing Tsunade's appearance, Orochimaru's hand that picked up the wine glass stopped in the air. What? Do you blame me for hiding too much from you? Without, no. Tsunade smiled bitterly. It's normal for ninjas to have their own secrets, even if they are friends who get along day and night. It's just a pity that I didn't see your battle with the third Kazekage with my own eyes. Yet. Orochimaru smiled faintly. He knew that Tsunade must have a problem with him. After all, he had hidden a lot of things from her. But again, he would definitely say what should be said. No. Even Tsunade had to hide what needed to be said. Seeing Orochimaru's indifferent appearance, Tsunade felt helpless and drank one glass after another. After drinking for 3 rounds, Tsunade's face turned slightly red and she looked tipsy. But her consciousness is very clear. Hey, Orochimaru, let me ask you something. Tell me, we have been together for so long, should we get married? Why are you asking this suddenly? Orochimaru asked without answering. To be honest, he really hasn't thought about this. Because he knows what kind of situation he is in. Despite his appearance, he is actually in the political whirlpool. It is easy to become a victim of the political struggle between Sarutobi and Danzo. In other words, no matter how much credit he makes for Konoha, he will never be able to gain even a little bit of power in Konoha. And it is very easy to, perhaps due to her own reasons, Tsunade was also placed on the list of people who were not absolutely trusted by Sarutobi Hiruzen. This is completely predictable. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was okay with him in the past, and he didn't do anything to feel sorry for himself. But he has been Hokage for a long time, who knows what he is thinking now? It just suddenly occurred to me. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Tsunade paused. After all, we are this age. Are you proposing to me? A playful smile appeared on Orochimaru's lips. Proposal has always been something a man does to a woman. A woman proposes to a man? Although this kind of thing is not absolutely impossible, most women really can't do it. But Tsunade is obviously different from other women. She does whatever she wants and says whatever she wants, and when her temper gets angry, she doesn't buy anyone's fault. Originally, she had never thought about getting married, but after drinking too much, she inevitably thought about it more. She returned to the village earlier than Orochimaru, so she knew more about the current situation in the village than Orochimaru did. The ninja at the same time as them, Konoha White Fang Hitaki Sakumo, had been married before the expedition, and his children were now 1 year old. There is also an old friend, Mat Dai, who, like Hitaki Sakumo, has a 1-year-old son. In other words, everyone else was already married and had children, but she and Orochimaru were definitely in a relationship much earlier than these ninjas. Now you are not even married? Not to mention my son. Thinking of these, as a woman, can you not have any feelings? Orochimaru, there was a hint of ridicule in her breath, but Tsunade didn't care. With slightly drunk eyes, she looked lovingly at the man opposite her who had taken away her body and mind. Propose to you? Just say yes, I can't have any other ideas anyway. Tsunade said unusually casually. From her words, Orochimaru could hear a sense of fatigue. Who are you? Are you tired from fighting? You still understand me? Tsunade put down the wine glass in her hand and nodded without hesitation. Although it's inappropriate for me to think this way, I really don't want to go to the battlefield anymore. I don't want to lose the people around me, and I don't want to lose you. Now, you can understand me, right? I can understand. Orochimaru smiled faintly. It's just about getting married. Although marrying you is a matter of time, at this time, I still need to think about it again. Good, all right. Tsunade rubbed her dizzy head. You, please help me back first. My head seems a little dizzy. Help you back, good. Orochimaru smiled, took out the drink money and put it on the table, then stretched out his white hand to Tsunade. Give me your hand. Tsunade nodded and subconsciously put her hand on Orochimaru's palm. Whoosh! The two of them disappeared into the izakaya. When they appeared again, they had returned to Orochimaru's room. Seeing the surrounding scene, Tsunade almost sobered up immediately. This is the ability used when defeating the Kazekage. You actually learned this? There are definitely many people who have seen the Flying Thunder God technique invented by the second Hokage, but no one has learned it. Why is this? Isn't it just because this technique requires very high quality of ninjas? Ordinary ninjas can't learn it at all. When did Orochimaru learn to fly the Thunder God? Where did you learn it? Tsunade was surprised and confused. But in front of Tsunade, Orochimaru had many doubts that he didn't explain. For example, why did you monitor Kushina before? Therefore, knowing that Orochimaru could fly Thunder God, Tsunade was just surprised for a moment, and soon put the matter behind her. Because she had no intention of getting to the bottom of it. She seemed to sense that Orochimaru didn't like her asking these questions, so she was sensible and didn't ask any more questions. In her mind, as long as Orochimaru didn't do anything to harm the village, nothing else mattered at all. If you ask, it will affect the relationship between the two. Tsunade drank too much wine and fell asleep quickly while lying on the bed, but Orochimaru couldn't fall asleep. Marry? This kind of thing is simply appalling, okay? And my current situation is not suitable for marriage. Night is falling. Orochimaru was sitting alone in the front yard, thinking about these troublesome things. On the other side, Danzo stared at the girl half kneeling in front of him, frowning. The girl has orange hair, carries a ninja sword on her back, and wears glasses for myopia. He looks polite, but his eyes reveal perseverance. Danzo leaned on crutches and said in a deep voice, "You said you want to withdraw from the route." "Yes, please approve it, Danzo-sama." "Nanoyu, do you know how much time I spent training you? How many years have you been working for me and then you want to quit?" "I'm so sorry, Danzo-sama. Really want to leave. Please approve." Nanoyu was determined. She had made up her mind that she would leave today no matter what. Hearing Nanoyu's words, Danzo's eyes flashed with murderous intent, but after a moment, the murderous intent subsided. "You can quit if you want, but ninjas who have worked here cannot work under the Hokage after quitting. You should know this rule, right?" "I see. That's good, go down and write an application." "Yes, yes." After hearing this, Nanoyu still didn't react. She didn't expect that Danzo would agree to her request so easily. As a ninja of the route, she certainly knew how strict the management here was. It can be said that she came in difficult, even harder to get out. But Danzo agreed like this? Why did it feel so dreamy? However, it was a good thing that Danzo agreed. She didn't think too much about it, stood up and bowed to Danzo, and slowly exited his office. Looking at Nanoyu's leaving figure, Danzo narrowed his eyes. "Gui! Lord Danzo!" Gui walked in fully armed at the door. Find 2 good stalkers and keep an eye on her. Yes. Before Nanoyu resigned, he felt extremely anxious. Although she had already thought about how to go next. But I was afraid that Danzo would not agree. But now that she had Danzo's consent, she suddenly felt extremely relaxed. Hey, here is. Looking at the brightly lit house in front of him, Nanoyu couldn't help but be stunned. How did you get here? Looking at the familiar yet unfamiliar door, a handsome young man with fair skin appeared in Nanoyu's mind. Although she didn't have much contact with this boy, he was the one she paid the most attention to since she was a child. The powerful strength shown in her childhood left a deep impression on her. The other party showed kindness to her for the first time, so that she would no longer be bullied by other ninjas of Gen. Even if she went to an enemy country to work as a spy, she would often hear this boy's name. Lord Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas? Or, why don't you go see him before you leave? In any case, he has helped himself. Thinking of this, Nanoyu nodded secretly, walked slowly to the door of the house, and prepared to knock on the door. Just when he raised his hand, he slowly put it down again. He's just a little person. Maybe he doesn't remember him a long time ago, right? He is now a legend in the ninja world. How can I be qualified to meet him? Thinking of this, Nanoyu smiled self-deprecatingly, then turned around and left resolutely. The status of the two was very different, and they hadn't seen each other for many years. She didn't think Orochimaru would remember her as a nobody. But she had just left 2 years ago. When you step forward, you hear the door of the house behind you suddenly open. Nanoyu, since you are ready to knock on the door, why don't you come in and sit down? Nanayu turned around in surprise. Big, Lord Orochimaru, do you actually remember me? Nanayu was a little surprised. Putting aside the disparity in identity between the two, how did Orochimaru recognize him after not seeing each other for so many years? Isn't this incredible? In fact, Orochimaru was even more surprised. Sometimes, you have to believe in fate. He just got bored after thinking blindly for a long time, so he tested the newly redeemed infrared night vision function for detecting flies in the yard, but found Nanoyu standing at the door? What is this if not fate? Hearing Nono's words, Orochimaru raised his lips. Of course you remember, I have been paying attention to your growth. Follow me. Nono is even more incredible. Why does Orochimaru, who has been blessed with all kinds of auras since he was a child, pay attention to him? Are you very scared? Let's talk about it first. Yes. Nanoyu stood at attention, then adjusted his glasses. He followed Orochimaru into the living room. Since Orochimaru went to the battlefield, Kushina has returned to his house, and Nezuki has also returned to Jien. The Hand clan, so now except for Tsunade who is sleeping in the bedroom, there is no one here. Sit down. Orochimaru pointed to the sofa in the living room. Sir, I'll be fine just standing. After entering the living room, Orochimaru said casually, you can sit down if I tell you to, don't be so formal. Okay. Looking at the well-behaved Nanoyu with his feet together, Orochimaru shook his head helplessly. Nanoyu. Exist. No need to stand up, let's just talk casually, sit down and talk. Yes. Seeing Nanoyu sitting down, Orochimaru spoke. Judging from the way you tried to knock on the door just now, but didn't, is something wrong? Nanoyu was a little surprised how Orochimaru saw it, but he didn't think too much. After thinking for a while, he still stated his purpose. I originally wanted to come to say goodbye to you, sir. Say goodbye, what happened? The thing is like this. Nanoyu explained his situation, but Orochimaru was stunned. Off the roots? In his memory, Nanoyu was indeed about to break away from his roots, but was it so early? And Danzo's side? Danzo agreed. Orochimaru didn't ask her why she wanted to break away from her roots, because there was no need at all. Well, agreed. Agreed. Orochimaru frowned. He obviously couldn't believe this fact. He knew Danzo's character very well. He would let his subordinates leave so easily. It's a bit unscientific. So what are your plans for the future? Intend? Nanoyu paused, but he didn't hide this. I know that after the ninjas who have worked at the root leave their jobs, not only can they not work under Hokage-sama, but they also cannot gain the trust of Danzo-sama. So, I decided to leave the village. Before I resigned from Danzo-sama, I had already met with Hokage-sama, and Hokage-sama also agreed. Is that so? Orochimaru looked at Nanoyu, who was wearing uniform and carrying a ninja sword in front of him, and said thoughtfully, isn't it convenient for you to tell me what job you have decided to do after leaving the village? Nanoyu hesitated for a moment. I'm going to build an orphanage to adopt those war orphans. Sure enough. In my memory, Nanoyu ran an orphanage and adopted Kabuto Yakushi in the orphanage. And most of the money for her orphanage was given by Konoha village. In other words, all her actions were approved by the third Hokage? I'm so sorry, Orochimaru-sama. Seeing Orochimaru deep in thought, Nanoyu quickly said, the information you asked me to see before, should you want me to help you? But now. No need to say sorry. Orochimaru smiled and waved his hand, interrupting her. Perhaps it would be more appropriate for you to help me now. Well. Hearing this, Nanoyu was stunned. He had no idea what Orochimaru was talking about. He was about to leave, how could he help him? She was about to ask, when Orochimaru's voice sounded again. If you want to save those orphans, you should be of the same mind as me, right? Ambition, like-minded? Yes, but you haven't done it yet, but I'm already doing it. Varied, what? An hour later, Nanoyu left Orochimaru's house in surprise. It turns out that Orochimaru, one of the three ninjas, has been saving those war orphans for a long time? Isn't this incredible? However, let yourself help him? Nanoyu fell into deep thought. In this situation, she really didn't know whether what Orochimaru said was true or false. As a highly qualified spy, she naturally knows that everything should not be taken at face value. Even if she had a crush on Orochimaru since she was a child, she couldn't possibly be led by him, right? She knows that this world is full of deception, and a little carelessness will lead to disaster. After thinking for a while, Nanoyu has made a decision. Let's take a look first and then talk about it. If it's really what he said, then there's nothing wrong with doing your part for him. Thinking of this, she strode towards her new residence. According to my own memory, I should be able to get help from Nanoyu with this method. On the other side, looking at Nanoyu's leaving figure, Orochimaru also fell into deep thought. In his impression, why did Nanoyu want to build an orphanage? Isn't it just because she belongs to the same family as Tsunade and Jiraiya? This kind of people. Their minds tend to be kind. They don't see the suffering in the world and want to make a small contribution to this cruel world. Therefore, when she knows that helping herself can save more orphans, she won't stand idly by. It's just that memory is memory after all. Who knows if she will really stay loyal to herself for this? There should be no problem with her ability. The only thing she needs to worry about is loyalty. Do I need to find some way to ensure her loyalty? What's the best way to do it? Orochimaru frowned slightly. Kana, because she is an orphan he rescued, she is very loyal. Orochimaru has no doubt about this. Because when he taught Kana, he got along with her for a long time. Xiao the girl just wants to survive and is grateful to him. This is something he can completely feel. But Nanoyu. Orochimaru, aren't you asleep yet? A lazy voice suddenly came from the bedroom, interrupting Orochimaru's meditation. When he heard Tsunade's voice, Orochimaru's mind flashed, and then he was stunned. How could you have such an idea? The pharmacist Nanoyu is not only a master of intelligence, but also a master of medical ninjutsu. His mind and ability can definitely be regarded as the best among ninjas. It can be said to be a replica of Yakushi Kabuto. Orochimaru wanted Nanoyu to help. This idea came to him a long time ago. It's just that the timing, age, and experience at that time didn't seem to be suitable, so Orochimaru could only put this matter down. But now, everything has matured. Orochimaru was of course straightforward. The only thing he needs is to ensure Nanoyu's loyalty. Although this method of ensuring loyalty is a bit special, Orochimaru feels that this may be the safest way. Orochimaru. Seeing that Orochimaru was silent, Tsunade called out again in the bedroom. Coming. Orochimaru came back to his senses and didn't think much about it. He went straight back to the bedroom to take off his clothes and go to sleep. After lying on the bed, Tsunade naturally leaned over and put her hands and feet on Orochimaru's body, like an 8-claw fish. This woman is really becoming more and more casual. What are you talking to yourself about? Nothing to say. Nanoyu still has some things to deal with, and he will leave the village in 3 days. So Orochimaru was not in a hurry. On the second night, he took the lead in arriving at the route. Some things are different from his memory, so he needs to confirm it himself. Nanoyu wants to break away from the route organization. After arriving at Gen's office and meeting Danzo, Orochimaru directly explained the purpose of his visit. Although Danzo would not tell Orochimaru some of Konoha's secrets, there were many things between him and Danzo that he would not tell. Needing to be secretive. Seeing Orochimaru appear, Danzo had mixed emotions. Yes, what did she tell you last night? I asked her. Orochimaru found a seat and sat down casually. I really want to know, what do you think? Agreeing her to leave so easily. This isn't your style. How? It depends on your attitude towards her. Do you have any personal dealings with her? Danzo looked at Orochimaru with burning eyes. Now Nanoyu is not important to him at all. What he cares about most now is Orochimaru's killing of Kazekage. He found that he was looking more and more at I don't understand Orochimaru. He can actually kill the Kazekage alone on the battlefield? Can you be more ridiculous? He believes that with his current strength, even with Izanaga's sneak attack, it is absolutely impossible to kill the Kazekage on the battlefield. Cage kills. That's a real cage. If the cage of the enemy country was so easy to kill, Danzo would have unified the ninja world long ago. Orochimaru didn't know what Danzo was thinking. I don't have any private contacts, I just saw it from childhood. As she grows up, I can't bear to see her get into an accident because of something like this. Can't bear to see her have an accident? Danzo narrowed his eyes. I didn't expect you, Orochimaru, to still be intolerable. Is this what you learned from that girl Tsunade? This has nothing to do with Tsunade. Orochimaru shrugged. It's my own problem. You are no longer as ruthless as before. Maybe. Orochimaru paused and continued. Maybe it's because I have a higher level of ideological consciousness. I feel that many problems cannot be solved by killing people. I see. Danzo nodded slightly, not knowing whether he believed it or not. Well, actually, it doesn't matter if I tell you. I did think about killing her before, because the root ninjas have many secrets of the village, and I must ensure the safety of these secrets. It's just that she completed the multiple espionage missions very well this time. She brought back most of the information about the Sand Ninja and IWA Ninja. If I kill her now, it will not be conducive to my management. What's more, she was already eccentric, and it was impossible for me to let her perform tasks in this state, so I decided to let her live. Orochimaru raised his eyebrows. Then you sent people to follow her just to ensure that she would not rebel. Of course, if I really want to kill her, she won't be able to get out of this door. Right. Orochimaru nodded in agreement. Last night he discovered Nono, and naturally he also discovered the 2 hidden ninjas behind him. Now after hearing Danzo's explanation, Orochimaru immediately believed it. Because this explanation is reasonable, and there was no need for Danzo to lie to himself about this kind of thing. The only thing that surprised him was that Nanoyu actually brought back confidential information from the two countries. Is her espionage ability so strong? In this regard, Orochimaru, ask yourself that you can't do this. Okay, now that I've finished talking about Nanoyu, let's talk about you. Danzo returned to his chair and sat down. Orochimaru, I really want to know what you relied on to defeat the third Kazekage. It stands to reason that your strength is not enough to defeat Ying. Danzo looked indifferent, but in fact he said with a depressed heart. Orochimaru can be said to have grown up step by step as he watched him. Now that he can kill the shadow, doesn't that mean that his strength has surpassed his own? This feeling of being surpassed by the younger generation. So unhappy. This is it. Orochimaru smiled. Sir, do you still remember the sealed book? Sealed book, you mean, are you using the ninjutsu above? The art of flying thunder god. Orochimaru didn't seem to have any reservations. This technique happens to be right after the reincarnation of the earth, so I took a look at it. What? The art of flying thunder god? Are you saying that you learned the art of flying thunder god? Hearing this, Danzo was even more confused. What's wrong with this? This guy only used 2 hours to record the reincarnation of the earth and the flying thunder god technique? Forget about the records, why bother to record this? Did you learn the art? You know, Danzo had read the Book of Sealing more than once. If the flying thunder god art was so easy to learn, he would have learned it long ago. But now, he has not learned it, but Orochimaru has learned it. This guy talent, is it so exaggerated? Certainly. Orochimaru shrugged nonchalantly. Otherwise, why do you think I should kill the third Kazekage? You, what a monster! Orochimaru raised the corners of his mouth. Thank you. Seeing Orochimaru's triumphant look, Danzo suddenly felt so aggrieved. Because he suddenly thought that Orochimaru had to find a reason to explain to the third Hokage that he had learned to fly the thunder god. The third generation will definitely ask about the detailed process of Orochimaru's defeat of the Kazekage, and he will definitely need an explanation once he asks. The sealed book was given to Orochimaru in private. So, you have to find your own reasons? In other words, Orochimaru gets all the benefits, but he still has to do the troublesome things himself? When I think about it, I feel even more frustrated. Can the flying thunder god kill the third Kazekage alone? Danzo didn't believe it, and maybe others didn't either. Because flying thunder god is only an auxiliary ninjutsu, not an offensive ninjutsu. It's not as awesome as you think. Using it to deal with the miscellaneous soldiers is okay, but taking out the Kazekage? It seems that some are not enough. However, nothing is absolute. The fact that the second Hokage was able to use this technique to gain the title of Ninja World's Most Speedy proves that this technique has its own uniqueness. Coupled with Orochimaru's own ability, it is indeed possible to kill the Kazekage in an unexpected situation. Therefore, facing Orochimaru's words, Danzo had no doubts, and neither did anyone else. Even the third Hokage was just a little surprised when he found out. The next morning, Danzo found the third Hokage and explained the situation. The reason he gave to the third Hokage was that he had been paying attention to Orochimaru and wanted Orochimaru to become his subordinate. So after several contacts, I saw that Orochimaru was very talented in this area, so I showed him the Book of Sealing. This explanation is very reluctant, but it is an explanation nonetheless. The third Hokage has always known that Danzo was secretly contacting Orochimaru, but his relationship with Danzo was a bit subtle, so no one said anything. Danzo said it directly at this time, which actually made him feel relieved a lot. As for the sealed book, he, the Hokage, has always been keeping it, and Danzo only has the authority to view it. After Danzo said this, the third Hokage quickly thought of the cause and effect of the matter. Danzo wanted to use the Book of Sealing to win over Orochimaru, so Orochimaru learned to fly the Thunder God? Although Danzo did this behind his back, it was not the first time that Danzo had done something small behind his back. So although he was very unhappy, he could only warn Danzo. The Book of Sealings contains all forbidden techniques sealed by previous Hokage. You must know better than me what forbidden techniques mean, so, shouldn't you discuss this matter with me, the Hokage, about checking the sealed book? Sarutobi Hiruzen emphasized the word Hokage, the meaning of which should not be too obvious. I just think that there is no need to alarm you with such a trivial matter, and Orochimaru is your disciple, not an outsider. Having said that, I still hope that this kind of thing will not happen again. The third Hokage said with a serious expression. Before he became Hokage, he and Danzo were teammates, and everyone was on equal footing. But after becoming Hokage, the relationship between the two became increasingly difficult to handle. If you don't pay attention, Danzo will do some outrageous things. If he doesn't beat him often, he will even forget the fact that he is the Hokage. So the third Hokage is serious this time. Seeing the attitude of the third Hokage, Danzo also wrinkled slightly, frowning. But after a moment, he still had no choice but to reply. I see. In the final analysis, he is in the wrong for this matter. Naturally, it is impossible for him to go head-to-head with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Seeing that Danzo relented, the third Hokage did not continue to pursue the case. After Danzo left, the third Hokage turned his attention to Orochimaru. Can Orochimaru learn to fly the Thunder God? It is incredible. You must know why the flying Thunder God can. Is it regarded as a forbidden technique? That's because when learning this technique, ninjas with slightly less talent will suffer varying degrees of physical damage because they cannot keep up with the fast transmission. Most people can't learn it, and there is no way to learn it. But Orochi Pill. It's really surprising. On the other side, Orochimaru learned that Danzo was monitoring Nono, but he didn't know about Danzo's conversation with the third Hokage. Because he is busy with his own thing. The plan changed, he needed to let Nanoya build an orphanage first, and then take him to the Oto Ninja village. After finding Nono's residence, Orochimaru handed her a box directly. Take this. This is. Looking at the unusually exquisite box in front of him, Nanoya was stunned. Consider it the commission I paid you in advance. What, commission? Nanoya subconsciously opened the box and took a look, and immediately covered his mouth in surprise. 10 million taels? Lord Orochimaru, is this too much? Opening an orphanage requires a lot of money. Before Orochimaru finished speaking, Nanoya was deeply moved. 10 million taels, even a jounin might not be able to afford it. But the orphanage is supported by the village, so you don't have to give me money. Besides, how can I ask for your money? Nanoya closed the box and returned it to Orochimaru. However, Orochimaru didn't accept it at all. If you don't use it now, it doesn't mean you won't use it in the future. It's always good to save more. That's it, let's build an orphanage first. I'll contact you in a few days. After saying this, Orochimaru turned and left before Nanoya could answer. Anyway, money is the easiest thing in the world for him. It is completely worth it to exchange money for Nanoya's favor. And Orochimaru's move really moved Nanoya. So much money, but many people can't save it in their lifetime, but Orochimaru gave it to him directly? Is the purpose just to make it more convenient for you to build an orphanage? Aren't you afraid of running away after taking the money? Orochimaru-sama, what kind of person are you? Looking at the back of Orochimaru leaving, Nanoya murmured to himself. He once again felt a little more curious about Orochimaru. Orochimaru did not go home after leaving Nanoya's residence, but went directly to the laboratory in Konoha village. Needless to say, the purpose of coming here is to fuse magnetic escape. Before on the battlefield, he had no time and no laboratory for him to do this. Come back now, naturally you have to operate it carefully. However, during the process of making the gene fusion fluid, he thought about it and finally made a few more semi-finished products of the fusion fluid for later use. He is already extremely skilled in making this thing, so a few days are enough. Magnetic escape? Very interesting escape technique. The functions are also relatively comprehensive. Not only is it integrated with attack and defense, but it can also be used in conjunction with other things to use some special ninjutsu. Use sand iron with magnet? Why do you feel so weak? Orochimaru felt that if he developed it, he would definitely be better than the third Kazekage. For example, create a gravitational magnetic field, transform into Magneto, and so on. No matter how you look at it, it's better than playing sand iron. Therefore, sitting in his laboratory, looking at the scalpel floating in the air in front of him, Orochimaru felt that he needed to develop this magnetic escape. It took Orochimaru 5 days in total to make the gene fusion fluid. But in 5 days, the harvest was pretty good. After all, staying in the laboratory for a few days can achieve magnetic release, which is something that other ninjas cannot do in a lifetime. 5 days later, in the afternoon, Orochimaru found an open space outside Konoha village alone, and repeated his old tricks by creating several clones to help guard. I stayed in the middle of the clearing to get familiar with my newly acquired abilities. The space fluctuated, and Kusanagi sword appeared in front of him out of thin air. Orochimaru didn't move, but the Sachi sword just floated in the air, motionless. Gee, this magnetic escape is actually a convenient ninjutsu. Now you can not only take the Kusanagi sword from the air, but you can also control other metal objects at will. With a thought. Phew! The Kusanagi sword brought out a flash of silver light and flew straight out, directly piercing a big tree as thick as a bowl in the distance. Continue to control the magnetism, and the sword inserted in the trunk. The Kusanagi sword moved, and then flew directly towards Orochimaru with a whoosh sound. Orochimaru's expression changed, and he quickly turned his head to avoid it. Bang! The Kusanagi sword hit the tree trunk behind him and fell straight to the ground. What are you doing? It's your first time to control it. Can't you grasp the strength of the magnet? Orochimaru frowned slightly. Forget it, let's get used to this power first. As he spoke, Orochimaru took out all the shurikens and kunai from his ninja bag, and then directly created a magnetic field with a radius of 10 meters. The Kusanagi sword flew up again, and the kunai and shurikens also floated in the air. Orochimaru controlled these weapons to fly freely in the magnetic field he created. A Magneto is rising rapidly. There was not much time left for Orochimaru to get familiar with magnetic release, only 3 days, because in the morning 3 days later, he received the coordinates of the orphanage given to him by Nanoyu. But 3 days is enough. At least it made him understand why the third Kazekage chose to play with sand iron. Things like sand iron have a strong magnetic force. Controlling sand iron to fight will consume almost no chakra as long as large-scale ninjutsu is not released. Surrounding yourself with sand iron can block many attacks just like Gaara's sand. Although using magnetic release to create a magnetic field can also provide 360-degree all-round defense, creating a magnetic field requires continuous consumption of chakra. Moreover, the amount of chakra consumed is not small, and the defense power is not as high as Shitai. So for fighting, Shitai is indeed a good choice. To sum up, Shitai is the most cost-effective. It can not only attack and defend, but also save chakra to the greatest extent. Although I don't need to conserve chakra, I can't deny the effect of sand iron. Are you going out again? Seeing Orochimaru packing his things, Tsunade immediately knew what Orochimaru was thinking. With the two of them together for such a long time, she could figure out some of Orochimaru's thoughts. Well, I'll go out and do some errands, and I'll be back soon. How long will it take to go? I don't know, maybe a few months at most. So long? Then we wait until I get back. Orochimaru interrupted Tsunade before she could finish her words. He knew that Tsunade wanted to talk about marriage. But he also knew that he was not ready at all now. Await your return. White arms hugged Orochimaru's waist from behind, and Tsunade pressed her face against Orochimaru's back. Orochimaru. You guy, have you never thought of marrying me? Hearing this, Orochimaru suddenly stopped packing his ninja tools. Don't you want to marry? Orochimaru doesn't know. Maybe he wants to escape, maybe he doesn't want to be responsible. Or maybe he has other ideas. Thinking of this, Orochimaru turning around, he looked at Tsunade. It's nothing, how could you have such an idea? Tsunade hesitated and took a long time to express her thoughts. I feel like you are a little tired of me. How come? Why not? I just feel like you're in love with that little girl. Tsunade said righteously. Little girl? Which little girl? Orochimaru was stunned. He's the one in the same team as you, from the Uchiha family. You mean Uchiha Mikoto? Well, that's her. Tsunade seemed to have found evidence of guilt. Although she is young, I found that there seems to be something wrong with the way she looks at you. And she seems to be just the type you like. You two have been on missions together for so long, so it's inevitable. Wait. Orochimaru interrupted Tsunade again. What type do you think I like? What genre do I like? Orochimaru was a little confused. Because he remembered that he had not discussed these issues with Tsunade. But Tsunade took it for granted she is a gentle and virtuous type. Didn't you once tell me that you don't like me being too violent? She doesn't exactly meet your requirements. That's it. Orochimaru suddenly raised the corners of his mouth and subconsciously raised Tsunade's chin. Haha, Tsunade, if I tell you that I really like her, what will you do? No way. Tsunade was stunned. She really hadn't thought about this question. Are you serious? Seeing Tsunade's incredible expression, Orochimaru broke away from Tsunade's arms and continued to pack his things. Tsunade's expression was enough to show that she was just talking nonsense. Orochimaru was too lazy to care. But Tsunade, it's different. At this time, her mind is filled with Orochimaru's words. What should I do if he likes someone else? Yes, what should I do if he likes someone else? She has been with him for so long. Well, he wouldn't be so ruthless, would he? Hello. Orochimaru, you guy, you don't really fall in love with someone else, do you? Tsunade suddenly felt that she was a little scared. She was afraid that Orochimaru would really fall in love with someone else and abandon her. This kind of thing usually wouldn't be a big deal if she didn't think about it, but once she thought about it carefully, it was simply chilling. Orochimaru didn't say anything. Tsunade continued. Hey, Orochimaru, answer me. Faced with so many hypothetical questions from Tsunade, Orochimaru felt inexplicably agitated. Really, Tsunade, I originally felt very good about you, but it really annoys you when you ask these questions. Orochimaru's tone was calm, but the meaning behind his words made Tsunade freeze in place. Is he annoyed with himself? Did he really start to dislike himself? Seeing Orochimaru's nonchalant look, Tsunade clenched her fists, a little unbelievable. Orochimaru, what did you say? It shouldn't be difficult to understand what I'm saying, right? Hearing this, Tsunade really had the urge to punch Orochimaru. How could this guy say such things to himself? Why? Do you think that because you are strong, you are great? But it's okay, Tsunade, after all, the hand is a ninja, and the person standing opposite her is Orochimaru. So, she suppressed her temper forcibly. But in this case, it is not a good thing for reason to prevail, because she is a woman. Stay rational. She felt very wronged. Women want to cry when they are wronged, even Tsunade is no exception. You really annoy me. Orochimaru, you bastard. Tears of grievance finally burst out of his eyes. Tsunade yelled at Orochimaru. Seeing Tsunade's overreaction, Orochimaru paused. He wanted to say something more, but finally gave up. Because at this time, there is nothing to say. Use. Apologize to Tsunade? Orochimaru will not apologize, because he feels that in this cruel ninja world, as a highly qualified female ninja, he should not ask these inexplicable questions. Why did he say that she is annoying? Although as a man, he should accommodate women and apologize to women, but Orochimaru didn't have the time. At this moment, he suddenly understood what Danzo meant. Emotions are superfluous to ninjas. Now it seems that it is indeed a bit redundant. Orochimaru didn't care about Tsunade's mood and changed into casual clothes as if no one else was there. After packing up his things and putting most of the things into his luggage, he put his luggage on his back and left his house. He needed to go to the Hokage's office to ask for leave from the third Hokage. And Tsunade, who was crying, saw Orochimaru's indifference to her, and her mood fell to the bottom. How could this guy do this to himself? How could he? Are you going out? Well, let's go out and see if there's anything else I can research. Is that so? The third Hokage pondered for a moment and then nodded. Okay then, you go early and come back early. Now that there is no longer a war on the border, leaving Orochimaru in the village is of no use. And at Orochimaru's level, he is already considered the village's secret weapon. How can the village's secret weapon be used for ordinary tasks? So facing Orochimaru after thinking about Maru's request, the third Hokage agreed. After receiving the reply from the third Hokage, Orochimaru turned and left. That, Orochimaru-sama, are you going out? As he approached the entrance of Konoha village, a timid voice suddenly sounded. Orochimaru slowly raised his head, and a girl wearing a white t-shirt and black shorts appeared in front of him. The girl had long black hair and was as fair as snow. Skin, with a sweet smile on her face. Needless to say, Uchiha Mikoto. She was discussing this girl with Tsunade just now. Yes, I have something to do when I go out. After Orochimaru finished speaking, he rubbed Uchiha Mikoto's head out of habit. Uchiha Mikoto's face suddenly turned red. This was not the first time Orochimaru had used this kind of intimate gesture on her. Every time, she would feel that it was very. Excuse me. That, I wish you a safe journey. Uchiha Mikoto mustered up the courage to say. Thanks. Looking at Mikoto's shy look, Orochimaru curled up his lips and walked out of the gate of Konoha village. But this time, no one came to see him off. On the other side, Tsunade was still in Orochimaru's bedroom. At this time, her body seemed to have been hollowed out, and she knelt on the ground helplessly. His eyes were also red, and he looked like he was crying. At this moment, all she could think about was that Orochimaru disliked her. I grew up with him since childhood, and we all know each other well, and we have always gotten along happily. No matter when we are teammates or when we are lovers. The two never argued about anything else. But today, Orochimaru actually said that he was annoyed? How could this guy say such things to himself? Why would you say this to yourself? Are you really annoyed? Tsunade felt aggrieved. I just asked him a few more questions. Thinking of this, her tears were about to flow out again. Lord Orochimaru. Orochimaru-sama, are you at home? Orochimaru, alas, Tsunade-sama. Uzumaki Kushina's surprised voice reached Tsunade's ears. Looking at Tsunade who kept wiping her tears in front of her, Kushina was even more stunned. Tsunade-sama, cried? She swore that this was the first time she saw Tsunade, one of the three ninjas, cry. Kushina, you, how did you come? I saw that the door outside was not closed, so. Is this so? Tsunade wiped away her tears and stood up pretending to be strong. I'm leaving first. Close the door when you come out. With that said, Tsunade didn't care what Kushina's reaction was, and rushed out of the door, leaving behind a confused Uzumaki Kushina. What's going on? Kushina hurriedly chased after her, wanting to ask what happened, but she saw Tsunade knocking down a person as she went out. This person had long white hair, with a hint of lilac white. He looked very gentle and sunny, but she didn't recognize him. The man was knocked down by Tsunade and was sitting on the ground with an embarrassed look on his face, but Tsunade had already run away. Not, did Tsunade-sama and Orochimaru-sama quarrel? I want to ask if Orochimaru has feelings for Tsunade? Have. There must be. Although Orochimaru has experienced darkness, he is not a true cold-blooded animal. How could you not have feelings for Tsunade after being together for so many years? But in his memory, Tsunade shouldn't be such a fragile person. I just said a few words, and the reaction was so big? How is this different from an ordinary housewife? As one of the Sunin, this is not right. No, maybe not entirely right. It may also be your own problem. After two people have been together for a long time, women seem to be like this. I don't have the consciousness to marry and have children, so why do I find Tsunade so verbose? Thinking of this, Orochimaru shook his head helplessly. Forget it, there's no point thinking about this now, let's take this time to think about how to build a cloning base. Time flies, and the years fly by. 7 days have passed in the blink of an eye. Orochimaru was not in a hurry, so he walked all the way, and walked very slowly. It only took 7 days to reach the coordinates given by Nanoyu. Although there are bandits and bandits in the land of fire today, Orochimaru doesn't know if he's lucky or not, he hasn't encountered any of them along the way. Orochimaru put Tsunade's matter behind him and put his luggage in the system warehouse. After some exploration, he quickly found the location of Nono Orphanage. This place is considered a wilderness, and there seems to be no one around. There are no towns or villages. It can be said that there is no village ahead and no shop behind. It's just that there are many workers from other places in the orphanage, stacking bricks and laying tiles. Is there still construction here? Looking at the orphanage that was still under construction, Orochimaru was a little surprised. Shouldn't it just be bought and renovated? Lord Orochimaru. A figure wearing a cloak and myopic glasses discovered Orochimaru's presence and ran towards him quickly. Orochimaru looked Nono up and down. Do you have a place to rest here? Take me in and have a rest. Night. In a simple thatched shed, candle light illuminated the figures of two people on the wall next to them. The two sat opposite each other, with a small table in the middle. Nanoyu held this old teapot in his hand and poured tea into Orochimaru's cup. The house is simple, the tables, chairs and benches are simple, and the tea sets are even more basic. I'm sorry, Orochimaru-sama, because the orphanage hasn't been built yet, so the reception is really poor. Nanoyu looked apologetic. It doesn't matter. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. I don't care about this. That's right. A ninja as outstanding as your excellency will naturally not. Stop saying polite words. Orochimaru interrupted Nanoyu. Nanoyu, let's get down to business. What do you think about my proposal? That, although I shouldn't doubt your character, I still think I should see the village you mentioned first. I don't know, sir. Nanoyu didn't finish his words, but he didn't continue either. Is that so? Orochimaru thought for a moment. That's okay, you clean up and come directly with me tomorrow. This, are you in such a hurry? No, Naiu was stunned. Having solved your problem, I still have a lot to do. Is that so? Well, in that case, I'll take my leave now. Well, there you go. The conversation between the two was concise and clear. And they quickly discussed a result. Before, Nanoyu said that he wanted to think about it, and Orochimaru naturally had no reason to disagree. However, after all, Nanoyu is not Kabuto Yakushi after his darkening. She doesn't just do what Orochimaru says. So, she needs to confirm whether Orochimaru really has the same goals as her. And Orochimaru doesn't care about this. Anyway, Her place is not like the original Orochimaru. The Sound Ninja Village is so shameless. Even if it is exposed, I can still establish a new experimental base elsewhere. There was no words for the night, and Nunwoyu put on his casual clothes at Orochimaru's request early the next morning. After giving instructions about the construction here, the two headed towards Tien country. The orphanage is to the west of Konoha village, just opposite to Tien country. So it took the two of them a lot of time to travel. More than 10 days later. The border of Tianziguo. Looking at the land full of laughter and laughter in front of him, Nanoya was completely surprised. She went through the same situation as before when Tsunade and Jiraiya came here. There is really no war here, not even wandering ninjas to be seen. The villagers here are also very welcoming, and you will take the initiative to say hello when you see them on the road. Orochimaru's status here is really high. When everyone sees him, they call him Orochimaru-sama. It's unimaginable that there can be such a place in the ninja world. The manager here, named Konoha, is also a war orphan I rescued. Seeing Nanoya's surprised look, Orochimaru explained. He needed to familiarize Nanoya with the situation as soon as possible. Although the two of them had talked a lot after traveling during this period, there were still many things that had not been explained in place. Hearing Orochimaru's explanation, Nanoya didn't speak, but looked at Orochimaru who was walking in front of her. Not only did Orochimaru-sama adopt so many war orphans, but he also managed a country? So awesome! Hey, there is, Lord Jiraiya. Seeing a white-haired man in the open space in the distance, Nanoya was even more surprised. She had paid attention to Orochimaru, so she naturally knew about Jiraiya's existence. Jiraiya is still strong. In this war, known as one of the three ninjas together with Orochimaru. Jiraiya, one of the three ninjas, is actually here. In the open space on the outskirts of Sound Ninja Village, a white-haired man wearing wooden clogs was fighting with 3 people. Although the white-haired man was powerful, he seemed extremely cautious when faced with the siege of 3 people. The 3 children around him were watching the battle in the field with nervous expressions. Whoosh whoosh. 3 figures quickly stepped forward holding kunao. They are incredibly fast and their moves are uniform. The white-haired man's expression changed and he quickly clasped his palms together. Ninja, Needle Jizo. His white hair grew rapidly, turning him into a hedgehog. Ding ding ding. A few crisp sounds. The white hair that has grown is like a steel needle, blocking all kunao attacks. Amazing! Jiraiya-sama, come on! Yahiko with short orange hair took the lead and kept cheering Jiraiya on. Kana was also standing next to him, smiling and watching the battle in the field. Haha, this guy really knows how to play. Use my people as sparring partners? Orochimaru took Nanoyu, whoosh, whoosh, several times up and down to the open space outside the village. Well? Orochimaru. The moment he saw Orochimaru, Jiraiya was stunned for a moment. He was about to say something, but was greeted by a flying kick. Hey, wait! Jiraiya quickly spoke to stop him. Bang! The force of this kick was so strong that his arm went numb because he was not concentrating. Fortunately, Kana also saw the presence of Orochimaru and quickly told the clone to stop. Lord Orochimaru! Lord Orochimaru! Respectful voices came and went, and Yahiko rushed over with Nagato and Konan. Hey, Orochimaru, didn't Tsunade come with you? Tsunade? Seeing Orochimaru in a daze, Jiraiya laughed, rubbed his arms, and said. Don't think that I don't know what happened in the ninja world during this period. You solved the 3rd Kazekage, and the news spread almost throughout the ninja world. So, there should be nothing going on in the village now, but you came here without her? Remember your past. Stop it, Jiraiya. Orochimaru waved his hands helplessly. The last thing he wants to mention now is Tsunade. What's wrong? Jiraiya was stunned. He immediately noticed something was wrong. Orochimaru did not answer immediately, but first glanced at a few people next to him, and finally looked at Konoha. Konoha, her name is Nono, please take her to get familiar with the village first. Yes, Lord Orochimaru. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Konoha immediately understood that Orochimaru had something to say to Jiraiya. After answering respectfully, he took Nono away and took away the 3 Nagatos at the same time. Seeing everyone leaving, Orochimaru and Jiraiya found a place to sit down. 10 minutes later. What the hell? So there was a conflict. Sitting on a huge rock on the outskirts of the Sound Ninja village, Jiraiya couldn't help but suddenly understood after listening to Orochimaru's story. Then why are you avoiding this problem? Isn't it the right age for you to get married now? Perhaps, I'm not ready. Not ready? Jiraiya was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, haha, you guy, other things are neat and tidy, but in this aspect. Well. Forget it, this is your own business, and I can't interfere. What do you plan to do in the future? Let's finish this time first and talk about it when we go back. What happened this time? What are you doing here this time? Is it related to the girl wearing glasses just now? Roughly the same. Orochimaru nodded slightly and did not deny it. Since he decided to bring Nanoya here, some information that should be disclosed still had to be disclosed. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Jiraiya was stunned and wanted to ask something more, but Orochimaru didn't seem to want to continue answering. After trying twice to no avail, he had to give up. One day later, the Sound Ninja village office. Orochimaru is sitting on the office chair, looking calm. Standing in front of him, Nonaiu couldn't calm down for a long time. She is a spy, and a high-level spy. She has a calm mind, and it is difficult for ordinary people to tell what she is thinking from her expression. But ever since she came into contact with Orochimaru, things surprised her one after another. And now, her heart was stirred up by turbulent waves. Big, Lord Orochimaru, those guards, really a clone? Clone? Oh my god! Is there really such technology in this world? Certainly. Orochimaru did not hide anything. If a place wants peace, it needs a large number of ninjas to protect it. I alone don't have much time to win over so many talents. But, this is incredible. There is nothing incredible. As long as the technology reaches a certain level, everything can be done. When Orochimaru said this, he looked at Nanoyu. How? Nanoyu, can you make a decision? This. Nanoyu fell into deep thought. The conditions Orochimaru gave her were indeed very good. He only needs to help him guard an experimental base, and he can get the support of Orochimaru technology, so he doesn't have to worry about safety and food issues. In this way, more orphans can be adopted. This matter has no loss to me, and it does not go against my wishes. Thinking of this, Nonaiu made a decision in his heart. Sir, I would like to ask you the last 2 questions. You ask. Why did the adults choose me? Orochimaru explained calmly. I said, I have been paying attention to your growth. But among all the people I follow, you are the only one who meets my requirements. Not only does he know medical ninjutsu, but he also left the village. Leaving the village. Nonaiu was stunned, and then quickly understood the meaning of this sentence. I understand. Although it is a good thing to save orphans, if the creation of clones is known to the village, it will definitely be stopped. Therefore, you cannot ask the ninjas in the village for help in this matter, otherwise it will be easily discovered. Thinking of this, Nunwoyu taking a deep breath. Last question, I want to know, what is the purpose of adults doing this? Everything everyone does has its own purpose. Nanoyu believes in this. Ordinary people are like this, let alone Orochimaru? Spend so much energy, spend so much time, spend so much effort. Wouldn't he have his own purpose? This is impossible. After hearing Nanoyu's words, Orochimaru raised his lips. If I said that I just want technology to change the entire world, would you believe it? Science and technology, change the world? No Naya was stunned. At the same time, in Konoha village, the Hokage's office. Looking at Tsunade who was wearing casual clothes but feeling a little wrong, the third Hokage was a little curious. Tsunade, what's wrong with you? It's nothing, I just want to go out and relax. Going out for a walk, did you have a fight with Orochimaru? The third Hokage did not ask anything else, but instead asked this sentence. He is a person who has experienced Tsunade's emotions, and he can know the general possibility just by thinking about it. No. Haha. Seeing Tsunade's appearance, Sarutobi Hiruzen still didn't understand what was going on. I think you want to find Orochimaru? Who wants to find him? Okay, no need to say it, the teacher understands. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of cigarette. It's just that if you leave too, none of the Sunin will be in the village. Then me. Go back as soon as possible, and pay attention to safety on the road. Sarutobi Hiruzen's words stunned Tsunade, and she came back to her senses after a moment. Okay, thank you, teacher. Well, there you go. Tsunade nodded, turned, and left the Hokage's office. Her luggage had been packed a long time ago, and she seemed to be well prepared. After giving a few instructions to Naoki and Kushina, Tsunade quickly walked towards the entrance of Konoha village. Go! She was a little anxious, and she didn't even pay attention to the white-haired young man greeting her on the road. After leaving Konoha village, Tsunade slightly identified the direction and went straight to the direction of Tien country. Orochimaru, you bastard, wait for me. Wait for me, Yahiko. Haha, I am the first, I am the first. Several children were playing around the village. Yahiko ran first, while Nagato and Konan followed closely behind him. In order to protect themselves in troubled times, they were also exercising their physical fitness. Among the three there is naturally healthy competition between companions. However, in every training and assessment, Yahiko is in the lead. I don't know if his own strength is like this, or if the other two give way to him. Jiraiya is sitting in a heart at this time on the big rock. He nodded slightly as he watched the little ghosts playing around. He had been here for more than 3 years. He also watched these little ghosts grow up. He saw the happy smiles on their faces. He was also extremely pleased. Orochimaru, this guy is really amazing. He can actually create such a place by himself. Yes, if it weren't for her, I don't know what my fate would have been. Kunai, who was sitting next to him, also echoed. Today, Kunai is already a 20-year-old girl. Although she is not particularly beautiful, she is very friendly and comfortable with her. Hearing her gentle words, Jiraiya also smiled, and was about to say something. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of ninjas rushing forward reached his ears. He subconsciously turned his head and saw a figure wearing a purple coat in the distance, heading here. Running wildly. Seeing the person coming, Jiraiya was stunned. Outline, Tsunade. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Tsunade's figure fell steadily in front of him. Facing this sudden figure, the surrounding clones immediately became alert, but Kana raised her hand in time to stop her. Jiraiya, where is Orochimaru? Are you here? After Tsunade arrived, she didn't pay attention to the clones around her and asked directly. Jiraiya hadn't come back to his senses at this time. He has been here before. Where is he? Tsunade's eager tone directly interrupted Jiraiya. Sensing Tsunade's emotions, Jiraiya swallowed subconsciously. Tsunade, don't get excited. Answer me quickly. Tsunade yelled. He left 3 days ago. Jiraiya was stunned by Tsunade's yelling. What's wrong with this? There's no sense of east, west, or west at all. Gone. Tsunade paused. Jiraiya nodded quickly. Yeah, I took a girl to the southwest. Girl? Tsunade raised her eyebrows and grasped the key point. What kind of girl? Wear glasses and look very delicate and elegant. Jiraiya touched his chin and fell into memories. Well, he should be a ninja, but he speaks very softly, almost like Konoha. Similar to Chanel. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, then looked at Konoha. Hey, this bastard. That, Tsunade, there should be nothing between them. Jiraiya quickly reminded. At this moment, he remembered that there was a conflict between the two. If his words caused a deeper misunderstanding between the two, then he would be guilty. But Tsunade did not do anything. Okay, you don't have to defend him. You just need to tell me the detailed process of their departure. This, all right. Jiraiya had no choice but to tell him exactly what happened when Orochimaru left. What? After listening to Jiraiya's story, Tsunade frowned. You said he brought 20 subordinates. Good. So where did they go, you know? I don't know this, and he didn't say anything. Okay, I get it. Tsunade nodded, turned, and left. Jiraiya, take care. Well? Are you leaving now? Don't you need a break? No. Swish swish. As soon as the words fell, Tsunade had already turned into a figure. He came quickly and went faster. Seeing this scene, Jiraiya was stunned. What are these two guys doing? Konoha village, west, close to the Konoha border. With the support of Nanoyu, Orochimaru came here and began to look for a location to build an underground laboratory. After the Nunwoyu orphanage was established, Orochimaru's underground laboratory was almost completed with the help of 20 clones. Nanoyu does not need to worry about the cloning work, it is enough to leave it all to these 20 clones. All Orochimaru had to do was teach her how to use these devices. There is no arsenal here, so Nanoyu's job is easier than Konoha's. You only need to look after one clone laboratory to complete the mission. Moreover, she has professional knowledge and is extremely fast in teaching. It took nearly half a year to teach Konoha before, but it only took a month to teach Nanoyu this time. Nanoyu was surprised by Orochimaru's idea of using technology to change the world. But the feasibility of this idea has to be denied. Turn clones into an army while providing planting and breeding technology. In this way, both ordinary people and clones can live well. Outside the orphanage, Orochimaru and Nanoyu walk side by side. Orochimaru's hoarse voice sounded faintly. Clones don't need to eat, they just need a nutrition cabin. With the technology brought back from Tien country, you can be self-sufficient in most food and medicinal materials. As long as you are not targeted by other large ninja villages, you can feed many people here. Indeed so. Nanoyu raised his head and looked at Orochimaru. Lord Orochimaru, although I have been exposed to this for a long time, I still find it incredible. You, what a truly amazing person. Needless to say any words of appreciation. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. I have to go, I'll leave this place to you. You will definitely live up to your trust. No, Naiyu said respectfully. Orochimaru nodded, and after giving some instructions to Nanoyu, he turned and left. Because the laboratory here is underground, Orochimaru can make it bigger. About 200 experimental cabins can be placed in it. That is, said that clones can produce 200 people every 6 months. With Nono taking care of him, Orochimaru can basically rest assured here. Orochimaru! A woman's angry shout suddenly sounded. Immediately afterwards, a purple shadow rushed out from behind the boulder on the roadside, and instantly flashed in front of Orochimaru, who had just turned around. Without thinking, he clenched his fist and punched directly. Bang! This heavy punch hit Orochimaru's chest squarely. Phew! Orochimaru's body was directly hit and flew out. Boom boom boom! The body broke several big trees in a row before stopping. Lord Orochimaru! Nanoyu, who had not gone far, reacted immediately, shouted quickly, and ran towards Orochimaru. But Tsunade, who hit her, was stunned. This real touch, was it a hit? How can it be? Boom! A puff of white smoke rises. Whoosh! Nanoyu's figure rushed out of the white smoke. When she appeared, her cloak and casual clothes had disappeared, replaced by a smart outfit. Vest, ninja sword, ninja bag, gauntlets, there are many of them. At this time, the knee of her right leg was bent, and her left leg was stretched straight. He bowed slightly, like a vigilant cheetah, holding the hilt of the ninja sword on his back with his right hand. He adjusted his glasses with his left hand and then propped himself on the ground. He stood between Orochimaru and Tsunade, looking at him with a cold expression. Looking at Tsunade opposite. At this moment, she was horrified. Who was this woman, who could actually sneak attack Orochimaru? Tsunade, who was standing opposite her, couldn't believe what she was feeling. Did he really hit Orochimaru? With Orochimaru's strength, how could he possibly hit him? And even if it hits, the touch won't be so real. At this moment, Tsunade panicked. She knew only too well how powerful the punch just now was. If you hit it hard, you can definitely kill a tiger. Orochimaru just resisted a punch from himself. Thinking of this, Tsunade subconsciously wanted to go over and check Orochimaru's injuries. Nonoyu's ninja sword was unsheathed, blocking her way with a flash of cold light. Tsunade's expression changed, and she instinctively retreated. You. Nanoyu's voice was cold. No matter who you are, I will never let you get even half a step closer to Lord Orochimaru again. I want to treat his injury, please get out of my way. Tsunade was a little anxious. Treat an injury? Nonoyu's eyes were sharp, and he obviously didn't believe it. I'm telling you to get out of the way. Tsunade was anxious and had no time to explain. She turned around and flew into the air with a kick. Tenchou kick. Boom. The kick caused the ground to crack, and the powerful explosive force went straight to Nono. Nono was just a kick, a high-level spy. In terms of combat power, she is not as good as an ordinary jonin, so how can she be the opponent of Tsunade, one of the three ninjas? Facing Tsunade's strange blow, she could only quickly dodge to the side. But she managed to dodge. She found that Tsunade had already arrived in front of Orochimaru. This woman is so strong. Whispering sound. Nanoyu gritted her teeth, hating her lack of strength, but at this moment she had no time to think too much. After rolling around on the ground, she pulled out 3 hidden weapons like silver needles and prepared to throw them at Tsunade. Although she knew that she was no match for Tsunade, but she didn't think much about it at this moment. She just wanted to save Orochimaru first. But just after she took out the silver needle and aimed it at Tsunade, she found that Tsunade seemed to be really giving him Orochimaru heals injuries. What happened? Nanoyu stopped and stared at Tsunade in the distance with her mouth open. She is also a medical ninja with one of the best medical abilities. She once again confirmed Tsunade's actions. She was indeed performing first aid on Orochimaru? What is going on? Nanoyu was completely stunned. This woman hit Orochimaru, and then gave him first aid? Looking at the woman's face, and remembering the strange power just now, Nanoyu was stunned again. Are you Tsunade-sama? She also met Tsunade from a distance several times many years ago, but that was many years ago. Tsunade's sudden attack just now made her subconsciously judge that Tsunade was an enemy, and she didn't think about it at all. Tsunade didn't have time to answer Nanoyu's unnecessary question. Did you bring a first aid kit? Brought it. Give it to me quickly. Yes. The two asked and answered, very concisely and clearly. Looking at Orochimaru who had his sternum broken in front of him, Tsunade quickly gathered chakra in her palms and used her medical ninjutsu. Orochimaru, you bastard, you can obviously avoid it, why don't you? Why don't you hide? Orochimaru, if you die like this, I'm not done with you. Hiding, you Can you calm down? Orochimaru's breath was a little weak, but he still forcibly raised the corners of his mouth. Didn't he notice Tsunade? It's obviously impossible. With Orochimaru's current strength, unless someone he is familiar with is standing behind him, no one can sneak attack to him. But, when he was dodging subconsciously, he felt Tsunade's emotions. So, he made a bold decision, and then he was injured. Of course, he was really seriously injured this time. He is not the original Orochimaru, so he did not undergo software transformation on himself. Because he thinks that's disgusting. But because of this, his body lost the characteristics of a snake, and he was unable to use his body's flexibility to remove the strength of Tsunade's fist. Coupled with Tsunade's strange strength, it was already terrifying. After awakening the immortal body, she became even more powerful than before. In the case of an angry attack, even if he already possesses the body of an immortal, half of his life will be wasted without using any defensive means. After hearing Orochimaru's words, Tsunade, who was using medical ninjutsu, was stunned. Is this guy just trying to calm himself down? Orochimaru, you bastard! Seeing blood oozing from the corner of Orochimaru's mouth, Tsunade, who was being treated, couldn't help but shed tears again. It's all my fault, blame me. Okay, stop crying, I can't die. Orochimaru said speechlessly, just connect my bones and let the rest recover on its own. Right, yes, recovery potion. It's a matter of Orochimaru's life and death. Tsunade has lost her calmness. After she stopped treating Orochimaru, she kept rummaging through her pockets. But she was wearing casual clothes when she came out, and her bag contained daily necessities. Where? A recovery potion? Hateful, I didn't bring this thing out. Orochimaru, where is your recovery potion? I haven't used the one I have yet, I'll go back and get it. Nanoyu just thought of this, and quickly ran towards the orphanage without waiting for the two of them to react. Just bear with me, I'll set your bones now. I don't need the recovery potion. Why can't I use it? Alas, your cells. Tsunade was stunned. You also have the body of an immortal. Orochimaru did not speak, but nodded slightly. How could you do this? Never mind, I'll treat your injuries first. Tsunade was a little surprised, but the movements of her hands did not stop. When Nanoyu brought the recovery potion, Orochimaru's bones had been straightened by her. And because of the existence of the immortal body, the broken bones are being repaired quickly and automatically. Tsunade-sama, this is... Seeing Orochimaru's rapid recovery from his bone injuries, Nanoyu was extremely surprised. But when you think about Orochimaru not only making recovery potions, but also using cloning technology, so it doesn't seem to be difficult to let your own bones repair themselves? Thinking of this, Nanoyu quickly felt relieved. 7 o'clock in the evening. Orphanage. This orphanage has just been established, and there is no one else in it except Nanoyu. So many rooms are empty. At this time, a certain guest room was illuminated by faint candlelight. Looking at Orochimaru lying on the bed, Tsunade had mixed emotions. When she thought of Orochimaru's impatient look, Tsunade wanted to punch him. But when she thought about the way Orochimaru was beaten to death by herself just now, Tsunade felt a little scared in her heart. Two completely different moods caused her heart to suffer. Tsunade, how did you find me? Orochimaru suddenly spoke. Tsunade came to her senses. I went to the Oto ninja village, Jiraiya told me. It seems that she felt a little guilty for punching Orochimaru just now. After hearing this, Tsunade did not dare to look directly into Orochimaru's eyes and answered honestly with her head lowered. Jiraiya. Jiraiya only knew the general direction in which I left, not my specific location. Orochimaru paused after saying this and looked at Tsunade. How long did it take you to find me? 1.5 months. A month and a half? Hearing this time, Orochimaru was speechless for a moment. You spent so long looking for me just to give me a few punches. I just wanted to have a good fight with you. Who told you not to hide? Thinking of this, Tsunade became confident again. Also, don't think that I will forgive you if you are like this. Yet? So what do you want? Orochimaru smiled nonchalantly. He also thought a lot along the way. Having thought through many things, he naturally would not be disturbed by his emotions. Tsunade was suddenly speechless. Yes, what can I do to him? I was beaten and scolded, and my anger was gone. I haven't thought about it yet. Anyway, you owe me this time. Tsunade said matter-of-factly. Break up? Impossible. She can never say these two words in her life. What's more, the two have been together for so many years, how could they separate because of such a trivial matter? Well, just think I owe you once. Orochimaru agreed. With Tsunade's temper capable of reaching this level, he had no reason not to respond. After rubbing the area where he had just been hit, Orochimaru supported his body with his hands and sat up. Your injury? It's okay. That's right, Orochimaru, I didn't have time to ask you just now, how come you have the body of an immortal? Tsunade finally turned her attention to this. You guys, you are not one of my clansmen, are you? Oh my god, the two of us. Don't think too much. Orochimaru quickly stopped Tsunade from continuing. You and I will not be related by blood even if we count for 1,000 years. But, this kind of thing. With my ability, isn't it natural to obtain the body of an immortal? As the saying goes, time heals all scars. Originally, after all this time, Tsunade's anger was not that great. But when she saw Orochimaru and Nanoya walking together, the unknown fire in her heart suddenly rose. Although Orochimaru and Nanoya didn't have any intimate behavior, it just made her feel a little uncomfortable for no reason. So it can be said that she didn't hold back with her punch. However, even she did not expect that Orochimaru would choose to respond to her in this way. It's clear that his attacks can't hurt him, but he doesn't hide? This deeply touched her heart. And just now Nono looked like he was defending Orochimaru. Orochimaru, do you really think I have a bad temper? Remembering that Jiraiya said Nanoya was very gentle, Tsunade became even more angry. Gentle? I can do that too, okay? When did I say that? Orochimaru was stunned. Besides, haven't you always had this temper? But before you, Tsunade hesitated to speak. She clearly remembered that Orochimaru thought she was annoying. I thought you asked too many questions before. Orochimaru interrupted Tsunade. And the questions are all about relationships. As one of the Sunin, don't you find it boring to ask questions like this all day long? Isn't this because I care about you? Care? When Orochimaru heard this, he sighed helplessly. At this time, he really didn't want to say anything. Orochimaru, hug, feel sorry, I. Seeing Orochimaru's appearance, Tsunade also realized her own problem, hesitating and not knowing what to say. Okay, Tsunade, stop talking about this. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. There is no point in continuing this topic. Good, all right. Then can you tell me when you will return to the village? I haven't finished my work yet, and it will take at least several months. You should go back tomorrow. Tomorrow? I want to rest here for 2 days before going back. That's up to you. I want you to accompany me. This night, the two talked a lot. However, in the end, Orochimaru still did not tell Tsunade how he obtained the immortal body. Because in Tsunade's perception, Orochimaru has such a strong scientific research ability, he will always have his own way. This method is confidential. If one less person knows, there is less risk. Even if it is the closest person, it is best not to know. If Orochimaru didn't take the initiative to say it, Tsunade wouldn't ask. Early the next morning, Orochimaru stayed with Tsunade in the orphanage for 2 days at Tsunade's strong request. In the past 2 days, Tsunade spent most of her time chatting with Nono, which made Orochimaru a little confused. But he didn't care. On the morning of the 3rd day, when everyone was about to go their separate ways, Orochimaru pulled Nanoyu aside. "Orochimaru-sama, what's wrong?" "Something suddenly occurred to me." Orochimaru said calmly. "Remember, you seemed to be on an infiltration mission before." "Yes, Lord Orochimaru, what's the problem?" Because he knew the relationship between Orochimaru and Danzo, Nanoyu did not hide it. "That's not a problem, I just want you to give me the maps of the Suna Ninja and Iwa Ninja villages." "Map?" "Yes, you should have this kind of thing, right?" "Of course there is." Nanoyu didn't ask any more questions. He took out a bamboo tube from his waist and handed it to Orochimaru. "I always carry the map with me. Since the adults need it, I will give it to them." Orochimaru said nothing, took the bamboo tube, took out the map inside and glanced at it twice. No cemetery location. Nanoyu is a senior spy. Her infiltration mission is not as simple as infiltrating into an enemy country. Instead, they have to sneak into the enemy's ninja village and find out the enemy's intelligence in the enemy's ninja village. Considering the level of confidentiality that every great nation's ninja village keeps their village's information secret, the difficulty of this kind of infiltration mission is not unusually high. Not only do you need to sneak into the ninja village of the enemy country, you also need to gain the trust of the ninja village of the enemy country, and finally get important information and send it back to your own country in time. Such a difficult infiltration mission is really impossible for ninjas without special training. At least Orochimaru can't do it now. Therefore, he needed to obtain information about Suna Ninja and Iwa Ninja from Nono, a senior spy. With Nanoyu's support, he can save a lot of trouble. "Grave, cemetery?" Hearing Orochimaru's words, Nanoyu was obviously stunned. Orochimaru nodded. "Yes, just tell me the approximate location." "Is that so?" "I see." Nanoyu nodded to express his understanding. Ninjas have a common advantage. That is, they never ask questions that they shouldn't ask, especially for their superiors. Therefore, for such insignificant things, Nanoyu didn't think too much about it. "Because the cemetery is not important, I didn't mark it on the map." After Nanoyu said this, she closed her eyes and started to remember. After a moment, she opened her eyes and placed her hand on the edge of the map in Orochimaru's hand. "The cemetery of Sand Ninja Village is probably at this location. The cemetery of Iwa Ninja Village is probably at this location." "Well, I get it." Orochimaru nodded. After getting the maps of the two villages, he chatted with Nanoyu. Nanoyu gave him a lot of information, not only the locations of the cemeteries of the two villages, but also the infiltration of 2 things to note in the village. And people who need to be careful after entering the village. "Nanoyu, you are really an excellent spy." After listening to Nono's information, Orochimaru once again admired this girl a little more. Being able to be a spy to this level is pretty awesome. No way, I am nothing compared to adults." Nanayu is a little embarrassed. "Haha, everyone has their own strengths." Orochimaru smiled faintly. "However, I really have to leave this time, so I will leave this place to you." "Well, adults, walk slowly." "What are you and Nanoyu talking about?" "Nothing, just asking her for some information." "Oh. Tsunade, let's say goodbye here." Looking at the fork in the road in front of him, Orochimaru said calmly. Although Tsunade was a little reluctant to give up, she still nodded. "Okay, come back soon." "I try my best." "Goodbye." Orochimaru nodded, turned around and disappeared with a teleportation technique. When Orochimaru walked away, Tsunade turned around and ran towards Konoha. In the ninja world, the war ended early because Orochimaru defeated the Kazekage. However, although the war is over, small-scale frictions are still inevitable. Orochimaru bypassed the friction points between countries and took the lead in arriving at various small countries that he had traded with before. His purpose in asking for the map from Nanoya was obvious, which was to obtain the genes of dead strong men from various countries to prepare for his own reincarnation in the dirt. But before going to the major ninja villages, he needed to find living people to perfect this forbidden technique. This is also the main purpose of his coming out this time. Reincarnation in the dirty land, the higher the quality of the sacrifice, the stronger the resurrected warrior will be. For Orochimaru, there are two best sacrifices now, one is White Zetsu and the other is a clone. Both have cells from the first Hokage. It's just that Zetsu is hard to catch now, the clones don't have enough cells from the first generation Hokage, and the experiment is still in the perfection stage. Using clones is simply not cost-effective. Therefore, he needs to find suitable experimental subjects in these small countries. Time flies so fast, half a year is here in a blink of an eye. Half a year later, Iwa Ninja Village. This village is surrounded by natural dangers and is known for its strong defense. It is a top-secret natural fortress formed by many rocky mountains. It has an easy-to-defend location and it is difficult for enemies to penetrate inside. However, they also need to communicate with the outside world. It's relatively difficult. This day and night, an uninvited guest came to Iwa Ninja Village. He was wearing the khaki uniform and forehead protector of the Sand Ninja Village, and his hair was tied up and wrapped in the unique turban of the Iwa Ninja Village. He used the moonlight to look at the fortress in front of him from a distance, thinking deeply in his heart. After thinking for a moment, he pulled out a special kunai and stuck it in place. Then he raised his hands, and countless dark substances flew out of his cuffs. After the dark matter appeared, it all condensed on his back, forming a pair of huge black wings. Magnetic escape. Sand Iron Sky Wing. The flying ninjutsu of the third Kazekage. The huge black wings flapped gently, taking him straight into the air. As he climbed higher and higher, the buildings on the ground became smaller and smaller in his sight. Using this ability to fly is really not a wise choice. Orochimaru muttered to himself. Change the surrounding magnetic field to achieve the effect of flying. The higher you are from the ground, the stronger the magnetic field needs to be changed. The more chakra will be consumed. If he didn't have the body of a saint, with an almost endless supply of chakra, he would never use this ability to fly so high. But now, with the display of flying ability, soon, the entire Iwa Ninja Village appeared in front of him. Because it was dark night, Orochimaru's wings were also black, and with Orochimaru's current height, no one in the Iwa Ninja could detect his existence. Orochimaru looked down and flipped his wrist, and 4 flies appeared in his hand. Flies now have infrared night vision capabilities, which are used for detection, and are no worse than Deidara's electronic eyes. As the fly's perspective deepened, Orochimaru quickly found the cemetery location given by Nono. Sure enough, is there also a sensory barrier? Orochimaru raised his lips and pulled out a kunai again. According to the perspective given by the scout fly, he found a shadow position in an uninhabited area. Whoosh! The flying thunder god kunai fell to the ground freely, crossing the Iwa Ninja Village. The sensory barrier was firmly inserted into the soil on the ground. Immediately afterwards, Orochimaru's figure with huge black wings also appeared in the kunai position. The infiltration mission doesn't seem to be difficult for me. Flying Thunder God Jutsu, a ninjutsu that can perform rapid space jumps. As long as you have the mark of Flying Thunder God, you can teleport through space. But if you want to teleport, you need to get in touch with the mark you carved. Because the newly carved mark has a strong spiritual connection with the caster, it can be teleported regardless of distance. Just like when the 3 guards of the original 4th Hokage teleport Terumi Mei, the 5th Mizukage, to the battlefield. Directly across several countries, at least thousands of miles. It can be said that he is so exaggerated that he has no friends. However, the power attached to the Flying Thunder God's mark will gradually weaken over time. The weaker the power of the Flying Thunder God's mark, the closer the transmission distance will be. Even for some Flying Thunder God marks that have been passed for too long, the power of the marks will dissipate. Even if you are face to face, you can't feel it, and you can only confirm the existence of the Flying Thunder God's mark by trying. Just like in the original Night of the Kyuubi, Minato Namikaze fought against Obito Uchiha. The mark carved by Kyuubi Knight was still there until the fourth battle. But Namikaze Minato didn't notice it at first. Only after trying it once, did he confirm that the person opposite was the masked man from the Night of the Nine Tails. The topic is a little off topic, but anyway, Orochimaru's kunai was just thrown out. Can teleport regardless of distance. The perception barrier of Ninja Village is just a thin barrier, and only objects with chakra can be sensed. The Flying Thunder God kunai cannot sense the pure spiritual power. In this case, Orochimaru can use the Flying Thunder God technique to directly enter the IWA Ninja Village without passing through the barrier. Therefore, it is impossible for the ninjas of IWA Ninja Village to detect Orochimaru's infiltration. What is the most lacking defense capability of ninja villages in the entire ninja world now? There is no doubt about ground-to-air attack methods and air detection capabilities. Think of the original Deidara. A teenage boy can make the entire Sand Ninja village miserable. He even kidnapped Yaiwei in front of everyone. The reason is that he has a flying ability and an air-to-ground bombing ability. With these two abilities, one can be considered a terrorist in modern society, not to mention the ninja world where aerial power is extremely weak. Therefore, if you want to sneak into a ninja village without aerial detection capabilities, the best way is from the air. Orochimaru has the ability to fly, and combined with the fly's detection ability and the Flying Thunder God technique, it is easy to sneak into any ninja village. The wings formed by sand and iron dissipated, Orochimaru pulled out the kunai, and ducked to find a bunker. After sensing the surrounding situation, he started his own tomb robbing operation. Now, he is very powerful. With the amount of chakra provided by the sage's body plus Susanoo and Flying Thunder God, he can easily deal with the force of a great ninja village. But he still needs to be careful now. After all, it is not a wise choice to be discovered before the purpose is achieved. Tsunade, would you like to have a drink together? The gentle voice sounded faintly. No, I still have a lot of things to do when I go back. Is that so? Okay then, bye. Tsunade nodded. Let's go, Kushina. On the streets of Konoha village, an encounter scene was staged here. After the two said hello, the conversation just happened. Looking at the back of the young man walking away, Kushina, who was already 12 years old, stood next to Tsunade. Looking curious. Tsunade-sama, why do you always say something is wrong every time he comes to invite you? Aren't we okay? It's not because of that guy Orochimaru. Because of Orochimaru-sama. Well, Orochimaru doesn't seem to like him. I see, hehe, Tsunade-sama seems to listen to Orochimaru-sama. Who said I listened to him? Tsunade curled her lips. I just think what Orochimaru said makes sense. As a woman who has a boyfriend, it's better to keep a distance from other men. Yet. Kushina blinked her eyes, half understanding. Her mind couldn't help but recall the night when Orochimaru hugged her back. Since a woman who has a boyfriend touches a man is considered to have crossed the line. Then that night, Orochimaru-sama hugged her when she came back. Was she crossing the line? I remember that he touched her thigh. Is she considered a woman? Oh? Wait, thigh? Thinking of this, Kushina's face suddenly turned red. Because a sudden thought in her mind, the scene of Tsunade lying on a tree trunk with her back to Orochimaru emerged again. What? Why do I always think about these messy things? Kushina felt shameful for her thoughts, and quickly shook her head and threw these things behind her. On the other side, in a dark basement, An old man with only one pupil lives here. The old man has an old face, a stooped figure, and his hair has turned white. At this time, he was looking at the empty basement in a daze. Most people would go crazy if they stayed in a sealed place for a few days, but he had been staying here for many years due to limited movement. Madara, I'm back. A white head emerged from the soil next to him. His voice was unusually gentle, like a woman's. Zetsu, how is Nagato doing lately? Uchiha Madara said without raising his head. It can be heard from his voice that he is struggling to speak every word now. They have always been healthy, and Jiraiya, who has the title of Sunin in Konoha, has been teaching them ninjutsu. Sunin? A boring title. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly. Compared with the title of God of the ninja world, it is simply not worth mentioning. Yes. Baizetsu agreed, but it's good to be able to let Nagato spend his childhood safely. That's all I can think of. By the way, Madara, the guy who was also a son and who took him back, seemed to be quite extraordinary. Do you mean Orochimaru? Uchiha Madara blurted out, as if he was no stranger to this name. Yes, this person's behavior is simply weird. He is a ninja from Konoha, but he secretly went out and built a ninja village? I can't understand it at all. Very interesting indeed. Uchiha Madara looked calm. Have you investigated his village? I went in once before when the security was low, but for some reason, there were more and more ninjas in his village, and I couldn't get too close. Is that so? Uchiha Madara closed his eyes. Then there's no need to spend time investigating Orochimaru, just keep an eye on Nagato. Okay. After saying this, Baiju slowly sank into the ground. The ancestor of Chakra, Otsutsuki Kagaya, created a will called Black Zetsu. Black Zetsu tricked Uchiha Madara in order to resurrect Kagaya, Uchiha Madara tricked Obito in order to resurrect Kagaya, and Obito tricked Nagato for the Eye of the Moon plan. The conspiracy of the entire ninja world is one after another. Orochimaru knew all this, so he didn't care about these conspiracies. Because he always believes that in the face of absolute power, all conspiracies and tricks are nothing. And the conspiracy to prevent Uchiha Madara's resurrection is also very simple for Orochimaru. Just dig out the reincarnation eye and put it in a potion bottle, and then throw it into your system warehouse to avoid future troubles. But Orochimaru didn't want to do that. Because he never regarded this matter as his goal from the beginning to the end. For him who knows the future well, whether he wants to resurrect Uchiha Madara or not depends entirely on his mood, so there is no need to deliberately stop it. Slowly emerging from the ground, feeling his sight gradually recover, Orochimaru sighed helplessly. If possible, I really don't want to deal with these corpses all day long. The reincarnation of the dirt requires the genes of a strong man. There is no way he can use Earth Escape to rob tombs. Because of the current situation, no one can rob the tomb faster than him. Not only can he fly, but he can also fly as a thunder god. Infiltrate his Earth Escape and escape skills are among the best in the entire ninja world. Although his Earth Escape is not as strong as Baizetsu's Earth Escape, there is still no problem with basic Earth Escape. It only takes one night at most to steal the cemetery of a great ninja village. Hey, that boy over there, what are you doing here so early in the morning? A shout suddenly came from behind Orochimaru. Then, there were the footsteps of 3 more people. Orochimaru was wearing the clothes of the IWA ninja village and his back was turned to them, so they did not immediately treat Orochimaru as an enemy. Hearing this shout, Orochimaru was helpless. Have you let down your guard because the mission is over? Haha, forget it, goodbye. Whoosh! Orochimaru's figure disappeared instantly, leaving the confused IWA ninja behind. Disappeared. IWA ninja rubbed his eyes, subconsciously feeling that he was dazzled. But the clear memory just now made him feel that this was true. Hello, hey, did you see it just now? Is there someone here? Did you see it too? I thought I was dazzled. Damn it, why did you suddenly disappear? No, it can't be a ghost, right? Are you kidding me? Don't scare me. I think this kind of thing should be reported to Lord Tsuchikage. Yes, yes, report to Lord Tsuchikage. So, Onoki received a piece of supernatural news early in the morning. A strange IWA ninja appeared in the cemetery early in the morning. All three people saw it, but it suddenly disappeared out of thin air. The third Tsuchikage Onoki immediately started to respond to this. An investigation was conducted. As a result, the boundary department found no abnormalities. The gatekeepers at the entrance of the village also found no abnormalities. They even mobilized the whole village to conduct an investigation, but no abnormalities were found. Now, the IWA ninjas were confused. Could it be? The three patrolling people were dazzled at the same time? Or were they really ghosts? As soon as this thought came out, everyone was so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. Of course, the most scared ones were the three patrolling ninjas. Because they discovered that the figure looks like a dead ninja. Orochimaru didn't know that his actions caused so much panic to the IWA ninja. Because at this time, he had already arrived at Sand Ninja. He placed Konoha outside the village as always, sneaked in from the air as always, and landed the Flying Thunder God as always. With the coordinates given by Nono, Orochimaru didn't need to waste any effort. And this time, no one has been able to find him. Speaking of the Flying Thunder God Konoha, I have to mention it. The style of the Flying Thunder God's mark can be changed according to personal preference. For example, the special pattern of the second Hokage is different from the Sword of Shinobi Love of Namikaze Minato, who is the second generation. Therefore, Orochimaru also changed according to his own hobbies. The pattern was changed to a coiled snake shape. Moreover, his kunao was not remade, it was just an ordinary kunao with the Flying Thunder God's mark attached to its handle. Why did Minato Namikaze in the original novel transform the Flying Thunder God kunao into a trident shape? Because this kind of kunao can not only fix the technique better, but also has a heavier mass and can be thrown more accurately. Shorter and smaller than ordinary kunao, it is easier to carry. Orochimaru didn't mainly rely on Flying Thunder Gods to fight, so he didn't work hard on kunao. The days of tomb robbing are boring, and several days pass by in the blink of an eye. A few days later, in the Kingdom of Sichuan, at the junction of the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of Fire, at the foot of a remote mountain, Orochimaru squatted on the ground and put his hands together. Psychic, Dirty Land Reincarnation. Boom! With the end of the Indian ceremony, two erected coffins directly broke out of the ground. There was a coffin board with black characters on a blue background and the word 3 written on it. On the other coffin board was black writing on a yellow background, with the word 2 written on it. Squeak bang bang! The two coffin boards hit the ground heavily, sending up a cloud of smoke. Immediately afterwards, two different figures stepped on the coffin boards and slowly walked out of the coffin. One of them has a killer shape similar to that of the Uchiha clan, but has dark blue hair, yellow eyes, and a blue Kazekage suit. The other one was covered in bandages, with only one eye exposed, unable to see his true face. He wore a black ribbon as a forehead protector and wore black pants. The third Kazekage and the second Tsuchikage Mu. This is, what happened. The second generation Tsuchikage looked at his hands with a look of disbelief on his face. His movements were a little stiff, but he seemed to have some consciousness of his own. The third generation Tsuchikage immediately spotted the young man opposite. Big, Orochimaru? Welcome you two back to the world. Orochimaru raised the corners of his lips. Master Kazekage, we meet again. What exactly is this, what's going on? I wasn't given to you by this guy. I don't have time to explain this to you. In short, from now on, you are my tools. Tool. The third Kazekage's eyes were sharp. I am Kazekage, how can I become your tool? Kazekage? You were before, but not anymore. What did you say? Hey, the boy named Feng Ying, let's feel your body. This is, Orochimaru, what did you do to me? After the third Kazekage was channeled, all his attention was focused on Orochimaru. So he didn't notice anything unusual about himself. At this time, after being reminded by the second Tsuchikage, he immediately discovered something was wrong with him. And he also discovered that the person standing next to him was actually you. Are you the second generation Tsuchikage of Earth Country? Do I have no sense of existence? The second Tsuchikage said calmly. After speaking, he looked at Orochimaru. By the way, boy across from you, which country are you a ninja from? Can you actually use this technique? If I remember correctly, this despicable technique should have been invented by the second Hokage of Konoha village. As expected of the second generation Tsuchikage. Orochimaru smiled. I remember it very clearly. The second Tsuchikage looked at his hands. Are you the disciple of the second Hokage? No, this guy's name is Orochimaru, and he is a disciple of the third Hokage. The third Kazekage opened his mouth and explained. 3 generations. Yes, this guy has very weird abilities. Not only does he have the speed of the second Hokage, but he also has the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. I am. The third Kazekage was filled with reluctance, and the cause of his death seemed to be recalled in his mind. Flying Thunder God approaches, kaleidoscope relay. It was a bit unclear to let him, the third Kazekage, die. The speed and Sharingan of the second Hokage. The second generation Tsuchikage's eyes showed a hint of surprise. How is that possible? He and the second Hokage can be said to be strong men of the same period. Naturally, he has a certain understanding of the second Hokage and the Leaf Village. Not to mention the speed of the second Hokage, just the black hair and black eyes of the Uchiha clan. Doesn't this guy fit the bill? I didn't think it was possible, but that's how I died. The third Kazekage said in an extremely depressed tone. After all, as a Kazekage, it was a shame for him to die in some unknown way. But Orochimaru, who was listening to the two chatting, felt a little weird in his heart. Why did he suddenly? I feel like this technique is not evil, but rather interesting. If it didn't require living people as sacrifices, this technique might really be a very positive technique. It not only allows people to see their long-missed relatives, but also can we still let them say the last words they didn't have time to say when they died? Okay, you two, the chatting time is over. I summoned you today because I have nothing else to do. I just want to see how perfect this technique is. It's okay now, go back. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. The third Kazekage and the second Tsuchikage immediately seemed to be controlled by something and walked slowly back to the coffin. Hateful. Really unpleasant, boom. The coffin board automatically closed, blocking the voices of the two people. The two coffins also disappeared out of thin air. Orochimaru looked at the place where the two disappeared and touched his chin thoughtfully. My consciousness has recovered a lot, but my strength seems to be not enough. I need to get a better quality sacrifice. Reincarnation in dirty soil is a technique that plays with the dead. Ninjas who use this technique are labeled as despicable and sinister. Even the second Hokage, the founder, cannot escape this setting. But Orochimaru didn't care. Anyway, the entire ninja world now knew that he knew this technique. Apart from Danzo, they were the only two people just now. He believed that he was planning secretly, and by the time others reacted, it would be too late. Konoha village, country of fire. Orochimaru returned to the village again. He did not go to Kumo Ninja village and Kirigakure village because he had no information about these two villages, so he needed to plan carefully if he wanted to steal the corpse. Of course, the most important thing is that it is a smooth journey back to Konoha from Kawa no Kuni. It just so happens that he can come back and get some more first-generation Hokage cells to strengthen his clones. Orochimaru, why do you always run outside? This was the first thing Danzo said after seeing Orochimaru come back. At this time, the two of them were in the office of the root headquarters. In Danzo's impression, as long as it was not during the war, Orochimaru would never be seen. This will make him feel very unhappy. Because after all, he is Orochimaru's superior, so why can't he see people often? What's wrong? Of course it's because of your experiment. Danzo said in a deep voice. How can you do research when you are always running outside? Didn't I go out just to find new scientific research projects? Orochimaru said nonchalantly. He has already completed these research projects for Danzo, such as genetic enhancement fluid, Sharingan transplantation, and first-generation Hokage cell transplantation. He also helped Konoha complete the genetic repair fluid and scientific ninja tools. Things like that. So, he really has no new scientific research projects to do in Konoha. Have you found it? Not yet. Looking for a new project and need inspiration. Orochimaru said matter-of-factly. Because new research topics do require a certain amount of inspiration to appear. Although this is a lie to Danzo. After hearing Orochimaru's words, Danzo hesitated for a moment. Since there are no good scientific research projects, then just continue doing research on Mudun. Research on wood escape. Orochimaru raised his eyebrows. That's right, didn't you say before that besides my method, children can also have the ability of wood escape? Orochimaru nodded. That's true, but the power of the wood escape obtained in this way is incomparable to the real wood escape, and it also takes a long time. It's enough. We can find a group of children and create some wood release owners as backup. As for your time? I'm not in a hurry. I'm very anxious. Orochimaru frowned. But thinking about it carefully, doing this research doesn't seem to have a special impact on my plan. Moreover, I do need to do some of this experiment. Thinking of this, Orochimaru nodded slightly. Okay, but I don't have time to catch kids right now. You don't have to worry about this, just leave it to me. Danzo said calmly. The indifferent look on Danzo's face made Orochimaru feel desolate. In this ninja world where human life is so worthless, life is really worthless. Killing is a common occurrence for ninjas. Even if experiments are conducted on living bodies, does it seem to be commonplace? Because the second-generation Hokage has also done many such experiments. Orochimaru breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, but the children used for experiments, even if they are not babies, are best it also has to be under 5 years old. I see. Genetic modification is a scientific technology that can completely change human genes. This technique was implemented by Orochimaru in the original work on Captain Yamato. It's not too profound. But for ordinary people, it goes against human ethics. After all, this is a live experiment, and it can only be used on children. Under such double moral standards, no matter how you look at it, this is an experiment in the distortion of human nature. But Orochimaru didn't care, because for him, this experiment could no longer be called an experiment. It can only be regarded as a process of creating an army of wood escape. Experiment failed? Unless the child is terminally ill, there is no way he could fail. Kato-dan. In the evening, after returning from Danzo's roots and walking on the street, Orochimaru saw the white-haired figure outside the meatball shop in the distance. Orochimaru frowned slightly. Is NT this guy dead? In Orochimaru's memory, Kato-dan died. In World War II. It's a pity that World War II is over now. Was it because he ended the war early, or was it because he got Tsunade? Or maybe the two reasons merged together, so Kato-dan's fate was changed? Lord Orochimaru. Haha, you are back. A girl's voice came from behind. Orochimaru turned around, and the little girl with red hair jumped into his arms happily. Kushina? Orochimaru paused again. Because he deliberately got closer to Kushina and saved her when the Cloud Ninja kidnapped her. So Kushina has a good relationship with him, which is no problem. But the problem is that the relationship between the two is not the same. It's not as good as this. What's going on? Kushina, are you alone? Orochimaru smiled and rubbed Kushina's red hair. Didn't you play with anyone else? With other people? Kushina was stunned. No, I have no other friends in Konoha. No other friends? Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. Wartime is different from peacetime. Kushina, a Jinchuriki, cannot run around like Naruto. Therefore, after she graduates, even if she does tasks, she can only do some D-level tasks. And other people disliked her red hair, and she didn't like being with those guys, so she didn't divide into groups. There was supposed to be a Namikaze Minato. But now, because of her own reasons, Namikaze Minato didn't come close to her. She didn't seem to have any intention of getting close to Namikaze Minato. In other words, in addition to Kato Dan, her fate trajectory and that of Namikaze Minato were also changed by herself? Thinking of this, Orochimaru curled up his lips. Come on, come and play at my house. Yet, under normal circumstances, a generation gap usually occurs when there is a 3-year age difference between men and women. The age difference between Orochimaru and Kushina is 13 or 14 years, and it is impossible for them to have anything in common. But seeing Kushina enjoying herself so much, Orochimaru felt a strange feeling in his heart. It seems that the night when the Cloud Ninja village kidnapped her was really important to Kushina. Judging from Kushina's current performance, whoever saved her that night would get closer to her and occupy an extremely important position in her heart. Not to mention that he deliberately approached the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Looking at Kushina tinkering with wireless headphones at her home, Orochimaru fell into deep thought. He wanted to get the Kyuubi. This was an idea he had long ago, but it would definitely not work just like this. Because once the Kyuubi is stripped away, the Jinchuriki will die. Orochimaru felt a little pity that such a cute little girl died like this. But in the memory of the Jinchuriki, no matter which method is used to peel off the tailed beast, it seems that the Jinchuriki cannot survive. Unless you use the forbidden technique of exchanging life for life through reincarnation, or refill it with a tailed beast. But I definitely won't use these two methods. Life for life? Orochimaru is not crazy. After whipping the Kyuubi, he traded his life for hers. So stuffing a tailed beast? This is still impossible. My original purpose was to pull away the tailed beast. I had to fill it with a tailed beast. Why did I pull away from it? And judging from the current situation, it should be difficult for Kushina to have any interaction with Namikaze Minato. In other words, Naruto can't come out either? Or even if it comes out, it won't be the Naruto in memory. Either it has nothing to do with the Uzumaki clan, or it has nothing to do with the Kyuubi. It seems that the flapping of the wings of this butterfly has changed a lot. Orochimaru, Orochimaru. Tsunade's voice interrupted Orochimaru's thoughts. I'll open the door for Tsunade-sama. Kushina took the initiative. Soon the door opened and Tsunade walked in quickly. You guy, you didn't even tell me when you came back. Night, house bedroom. The two figures intertwined. After some confusion, Tsunade looked at Orochimaru with a blushing face. Orochimaru, what are you thinking? Just finished it and you just lay there in a daze. Nothing. Orochimaru said casually. By the way, how is the rope tree doing recently? He is now a real jonin. You can stand alone now. Yet. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes. He had already confirmed his inner thoughts. Hey, Orochimaru, when you come back this time, you won't leave again, right? Won't leave for a while. Orochimaru paused. That's right, Tsunade. Let's get married. Well. When Tsunade heard this, she was stunned. She couldn't imagine that Orochimaru would actually take the initiative to tell her this. Is this the same annoying Orochimaru who disliked her before? Are you serious? Orochimaru nodded slightly, although this seems a bit hasty, but to show sincerity, I will show you something. What? Get dressed first. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Tsunade was particularly curious. She quickly put on her clothes and put on her coat. Orochimaru also put on a robe. Let's go. After saying that, Orochimaru directly hugged Tsunade. Tsunade hadn't been hugged like this by Orochimaru for a long time. Before she could feel shy, she noticed that the scene around her changed. The surrounding area became dark, and the wind in her ears was also blowing. There was a whirring sound. She subconsciously looked around. The two of them were in the air at this time, and a pair of huge black wings grew from Orochimaru's back. The wings flapped gently, leading the two to pause in mid-air. You can actually fly? Orochimaru suddenly proposed marriage, which surprised Tsunade. Because Orochimaru has never been such a proactive person. But now that Orochimaru can fly, it directly makes Tsunade forget about getting married. This is outside Konoha village, and Tsunade is not surprised that the two of them came out using the flying thunder god. But Orochimaru can fly? This is incredible. And these black wings, is it magnetic escape? You can't go wrong. The black one is sand iron. Only, how can this be? Magnetic escape? How could he use magnetic escape? This is what I'm going to show you. Orochimaru said hoarsely, you should be able to think of something when you see this. Hearing this, Tsunade, who was originally immersed in surprise, immediately reacted. Wood escape, magnetic escape, do you have the ability to merge with other people's blood inheritance limits? No way. Tsunade was dumbfounded. Tsunade is Tsunade after all, and she can guess it immediately with just a little reminder. Orochimaru didn't speak, and flashed back to the ground with Tsunade's figure, and pulled out the flying weapon on the ground. Thunder God Kunao. After holding the kunao in his hand, looking at Tsunade, the golden vertical pupils gradually turned into scarlet. You are right. Just a few words, but Tsunade was speechless. She couldn't believe her eyes. Right, Sharingan? But Orochimaru's black wings have not dissipated, and his scarlet pupils are so strange. In this form, Orochimaru looks like a demon with black wings. In addition to the previous immortal body and flying thunder god. Oh! My god! Such important information, do you tell me? It is very dangerous for ninja information to be known by others. If a person is willing to tell you his abilities, it undoubtedly shows his absolute trust in you. This is a trust that exceeds that of peers. Ordinary abilities are not enough, so, not to mention Orochimaru's ability that is enough to cause a sensation in the entire ninja world? I just said it, this is to show my sincerity. Sincerity? Tsunade was stunned for a moment, and then she remembered Orochimaru's main purpose of bringing him out. Is the marriage sincere? But this is too much. This information is definitely more valuable than anything to a ninja. Tsunade believes this. It doesn't matter. Orochimaru curled his lips, dispersed the Sharingan, and put away the sand iron. As long as you don't tell, no one will know, right? Of course I won't say it, but, Orochimaru, are you really willing to marry me? Tsunade said seriously. What do you think? Orochimaru wants to marry Tsunade? The wedding date was set for June 6, Konoha 36. That is early next month. This news sounds incredible, but it is true. And this breaking news quickly spread throughout the entire Konoha village. When the villagers and ninjas of Konoha village learned the news, they were surprised but not surprised. What was unexpected was the suddenness of the two announcing their marriage. It's not surprising that the two have been together for so long, so it's natural for them to get married, right? Orochimaru, it seems that I made the right choice by not letting you enter the route. Danzo said in a calm voice. Danzo's route recruitment is more strict than that of Naruto's ANBU. In addition to being an orphan, there cannot be any emotional ties. No feelings of any kind. Only in this way can a ninja become a qualified route. Ninja. He told Orochimaru at the beginning that when the time came, he would let Orochimaru work under him. But he never took action on this matter. The reason was because Orochimaru and Tsunade together. Falling in love? Getting married? This kind of person cannot get into his roots. Orochimaru waved his hand casually. Where to work is just a formality, it does not affect my original intention. Yet? Danzo narrowed his eyes. How much does that girl Tsunade know now? Many don't know. That's good, I'm really afraid that she will ruin our plan. Hearing Danzo's words, Orochimaru raised the corners of his mouth and said nothing. For him, this feeling of playing with a strong man in the palm of his hand is no less than being invincible and dominating the world. The two were getting married, and after the third Hokage knew the news, he naturally couldn't stay idle. And he has to do most of the things. Because not only did both of them lose their parents, but they were also nominally his students. If he is not busy, who is? Of course, the third Hokage was busy, as he should be. After all, he and several senior Konoha officials were considered their elders. But what surprised the top management of Konoha the most was that the budget for their wedding was more than 200 million. Damn, the entire Senju clan's legacy and Orochimaru's savings for scientific research have all been spent on this, right? Is it necessary to be so extravagant and wasteful? You know, after the Senju clan was basically wiped out, various resources were given to the village, but all the money was left to Tsunade. The savings from the two previous missions for so many years plus the inheritance, the total is almost only this amount. In the end, they all were used to entertain guests? Crazy? Orochimaru, don't be kidding, how can I have so much money? In Orochimaru's house, Tsunade, who was originally immersed in happiness, heard this fund budget, and it was like a bolt from the blue. She was stunned. 200 million taels? She has never been able to save that much in her entire life. A lot of money. The Senju clan has inheritance, but the total cash is only tens of millions taels. Tens of millions taels seems like a lot, but don't forget Tsunade's hobbies. These tens of millions taels have already been used by her. She had almost lost, and she was very merciful if she could only have 10 million left. In this case, where could she get 200 million? Orochimaru, who was playing with the sealing technique with a scroll, waved his hand indifferently. I didn't let you take it, why are you excited? You, where did you get so much money? Tsunade asked subconsciously. She would not think that Orochimaru's village earned this money. You know, although Orochimaru's village can be self-sufficient, it has not accepted the mission. It is basically a village with only expenses and no income. It's impossible for Orochimaru to save that much money. Don't ask about this, just tell the outside world that the money belongs to both of us. That won't work either. Get married for 200 million? Are you crazy? With so much spare money, you might as well help me fulfill my childhood dream. Childhood dream? Orochimaru raised his eyebrows. Are you talking about winning all the casinos in the world? Tsunade also had a dream when she was a child. But this dream is not to be Hokage, but to win in casinos all over the world. Most people don't know this dream, only Orochimaru and Jiraiya know it better. It's just that everyone knows that Tsunade is lucky in gambling and wants to win money. That was just an accident. It's the kind of accident that really happens. Hey, do you remember? Having been exposed by Orochimaru, Tsunade blushed and smiled awkwardly. It was really embarrassing to say this kind of dream in front of Orochimaru. But originally she wanted to say something more, but Orochimaru said the next sentence. The words made me dizzy. This dream you had when you were a child was so difficult that even if I gave you another 200 million, you still wouldn't be able to fulfill it. If I have time to help you realize this dream, you might as well let me guide world peace, and maybe it will be easier. You, how did you speak? Tsunade was so depressed. Are my gambling skills so bad? This is not a question of gambling skills. Orochimaru shook his head. Okay, let's not talk about this. Go and call Kushina. My sealing technique seems to be not good enough. Good, all right. Tsunade was a little unwilling. But seeing that Orochimaru had made up his mind, there was nothing she could do no matter how painful it was. But, 200 million. Oh my god, I'm bleeding. Everyone in Konoha knew that the two were getting married, and within a few days, most people also received invitations. The news that the wedding budget of the two exceeded 200 million has become a hot topic among people for a while. If there were hot searches in this world, the two of them could definitely occupy the headlines for 7 days without falling off the list. After all, 200 million is a terrifying number among ninjas. Even a jounin would never be able to save so much money in a few lifetimes. Time passes day by day. Amid the excitement surrounding Orochimaru and Tsunade's wedding, their wedding date came as promised. June 6, Konoha 36. The whole of Konoha seemed very lively on this day. Early in the morning, the venue dedicated to weddings in Konoha was already full of people. What is an empty street, and what is a huge crowd? On the day when the two got married, it was clearly reflected. This wedding was very grand, and the effect of 200 million is no joke. All the famous families in Konoha are participating. Inazuke-ko, Abarame, Hinata, Inyazuka, including all the Uchiha clan members. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Konoha's top brass, Uzumaki Kushina, plus some ordinary ninjas, totaling nearly 10,000 people. Even Jiraiya rushed back to Konoha from the Sound Ninja village after hearing the news. In other words, except for some ninjas who were responsible for guarding the border, there were only some ordinary ninjas who did not come to Konoha. However, even for these ninjas who did not come, Naoki would come to deliver something on behalf of his sister. It's really awesome. Uchiha Mikoto said with surprise and envy as she looked at the sea of people in front of her. A wedding of this scale has probably never happened in the entire history of Konoha. Because ninjas focus on strength, although they still take weddings seriously, but it's not to that extent at all. Even if Sarutobi Hiruzen himself got married, he would only invite the most important people from these famous families. This number of 10,000 people simply broke Konoha's record. Orochimaru-sama, wouldn't this be too wasteful? Looking at so many people at the venue, Uzumaki Kushina couldn't help but ask. Because in her memory, many war orphans didn't even have food to eat. But now, with so much money, how many people can be saved? Indeed, there were so many people attending the wedding today. I'm afraid that in the original work, when Konoha holds the Chunin examination jointly by all countries, only the number of people left in the arena can win. But that is like the World Olympics, which is jointly held by various countries. It is normal for hundreds of thousands of spectators to attend. Is this just a personal wedding? Wasted? Orochimaru looked at so many people and murmured to himself, no, it's not a waste at all. Actually, when ninjas get married, they don't have such a big banquet. Even when ninjas from big families get married, they eat in a proper manner. That's not the way it is done. The current open-air wedding gives people the feeling before it even starts. It's chaotic. It's chaotic, but very lively. It's obvious that the ninjas are a little uncomfortable with it. However, Orochimaru can't control that much, because this is his first wedding in his previous life and this life, and he has to follow his own ideas. Originally, he planned to be like other ninjas, and just invite some family leaders and important figures in Konoha. But in this world, only ninja things are valuable, and just weddings and meals are useless. There was not much money, even with so many people, it was only 1 or 200 million. So he made the wedding big without saying anything. Anyway, he has plenty of money now. The wedding went on as usual. Today, Tsunade put on bridal makeup and looked extraordinarily beautiful. But why is it that Orochimaru feels so calm when looking at such a lively wedding scene? Ha ha ha, Orochimaru, Tsunade, you two have finally made it this far, congratulations. Jiraiya, who rushed back from the Sound Ninja village, laughed loudly. He had longed for Tsunade since he was a child, but that was only in the past. After knowing that Orochimaru and Tsunade were together, his thoughts it has already been discontinued. I came back this time just to send my blessings. Jiraiya. For other people's blessings, Orochimaru was perfunctory, but for Jiraiya, Orochimaru still attached great importance to him. After all, Jiraiya was one of his few friends. On this day, Orochimaru drank a lot for the first time. Wine. This has never happened before. Lying on the bed in a daze, squinting his eyes and looking at Tsunade taking off her bridal makeup next to him, he smiled slightly. Is this what it feels like to get married? It doesn't seem to be the case. What's so special? At this moment, Orochimaru didn't think about anything in his mind, and he didn't want to think about it. He quickly fell asleep. And Tsunade, looking at Orochimaru who had grown up with him lying next to him, thought the time felt a bit dreamy. Did you marry him like this? Tsunade couldn't help but smile, walked over slowly, took off Orochimaru's clothes, shoes and socks, covered him with a quilt, and then slowly took off himself. He took off his clothes, got into bed, slept next to Orochimaru, turned off the light, and hugged the sleeping Orochimaru. Tsunade's actions were obviously unknown to Orochimaru. Because today, he has stopped drinking. At this time, he was completely defenseless. If someone wants to assassinate him, this is undoubtedly the best time. It's a pity that this is Konoha, and there is Tsunade by his side. Although the internal strife in Konoha is serious, we have to admit that in the entire ninja world, only the ninja villages of the 5 major countries are relatively safe. In other places, even in small country ninja villages, there are dangers. Coupled with Tsunade's protection, no one can have this opportunity to assassinate. In fact, in Konoha, although Orochimaru is a household name, his relationship with other people is not particularly good. Because he is usually busy with research and has no time to interact with those people. The reason why so many people came to the wedding was just to increase the number of people and join in the fun. Perhaps it is precisely because of this that the seemingly lively wedding made Orochimaru feel even more lonely. Tens of thousands of people came, but there were only a few people I knew and were familiar with, and none of them were real relatives. This feeling may only be experienced by real orphans. Orochimaru's wedding has a great impact on other ninjas in Konoha. After all, it is worth 200 million. However, no one followed suit, and with such a high price, ordinary people could not follow suit. And as time goes by, people's enthusiasm gradually cools down, and life in Konoha returns to peace. Does marriage usually end? No, this is just the beginning. I want to ask, what is the difference between Orochimaru's life after marriage and before marriage? He would definitely say that there is actually no difference. Especially when the two have known each other for so long. Marriage is just a nominal recognition and will not have any impact on life. Since Jiraiya had nothing to do back in Konoha, he once again found an excuse and returned to the Sound Ninja village. Danzo was searching around Konoha for experimental subjects that met the requirements. Therefore, during this time, Orochimaru had nothing to do. It was obviously not possible to have nothing to do, so Orochimaru found something for himself to do, researching androids. Although it is impossible to conduct experiments on artificial humans in Konoha, there is still no problem in making some conjectures and verifications. Orochimaru, can you tell me how you relied on to fuse the blood successor boundary? Of course it's science. Scientific? Tsunade looked like it was indeed the case. If Orochimaru had this ability when he was a child, she would not have known about it. Based on scientific research, this is the only explanation. For Tsunade, Orochimaru still hid a lot. But he told her a lot. At least in terms of his abilities, except for the system, he had no reservations. Even with the kaleidoscope, Tsunade had a little knowledge. At this time, Tsunade also knew about the death of the third Kazekage. The reason? It turns out that he didn't just rely on God. Speaking of abilities, we have to mention ninjutsu. In fact, the more the better. There is no use in having more eggs but less sperm. Just like in the original work, Kakashi knows thousands of ninjutsu, but only uses a few of them on a daily basis. Doesn't he rely on Sharingan and Reikari to kill people? Therefore, it is enough to choose something suitable for you to develop. The same goes for Orochimaru. His own development route, in addition to various psychic techniques and senjutsu that he has not learned, is Sharingan, Wood Release, Magnetic Release and Flying Thunder God. Combining these abilities is enough for him to face any situation. July of the 36th year of Konoha, Konoha village, Hokage's office. The third Hokage stood in his office, looking quietly into the distance through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Now that the war has subsided, although there is still friction on the border, it is nothing to worry about. Without external troubles, the third Hokage began to think about the interior of Konoha. Under Tsunade's strong suggestion, although the proposal for medical ninjas to join the team was still not approved, a professional training institution for medical ninjas has been established. Schools, medical care, research, training, everything seems to be moving in a good direction. The only one who worried him a little was Danzo. This man he had been arguing with since childhood. In the past, he would not have thought that Danzo would have any impact on him, but Orochimaru's contact with Danzo has always been a worry for him. Orochimaru is his favorite disciple, and he is extremely talented, no matter where he is, but having such frequent contact with Danzo is really not a good sign. And it's not easy for him to ask about this kind of thing openly. Thinking of this, he sighed helplessly. I hope you won't do anything irreparable. That night, on the outskirts of Konoha village, there was a secret laboratory. Looking at the 7 or 8 children in front of him who were different in height, fat and thin, Orochimaru smiled faintly. Have you washed it? Of course, and as you told me, I ate something but didn't drink any water. Well, leave it to me. Orochimaru took out several brand new syringes and began to draw out the potion. Seeing Orochimaru's movements, Danzo said solemnly, Orochimaru, Sarutobi should have noticed the contact between us. Isn't that expected? Orochimaru didn't even raise his head. It is indeed expected, but we must be careful. If he knows about our experiments, it will be very detrimental to us. What are you going to do? I have asked my subordinates to build several laboratories in other places. If they are discovered here. I see. Orochimaru nodded slightly. If there was a slight change, he would give up here directly. This is also in line with Danzo's style of dealing with things. Danzo also nodded. Do you need anything else here? There's not much else, but the cells of the first Hokage are still a lot worse. How much is the difference? You'd better take me to see the remains of the first Hokage. Orochimaru said calmly. Is that so? Danzo thought for a moment. Okay, you can inject them with medicine first. I'll wait for you outside. After that, Danzo walked out slowly. Orochimaru ignored him, injected the diluted genetic enhancement fluid into these children who looked frightened, and then followed Danzo out of the laboratory. Danzo gave a few instructions. Negin's ninjas took care of these children, and then without much hesitation, they took Orochimaru back to Konoha. Not far from Konoha village, there was also a secret room. There was an unusually strong coffin, surrounded by arms. The thick iron chain was locked up. There were 2 powerful seals around the lock. Orochimaru knew that there should be the remains of the first Hokage. Danzo naturally supports Orochimaru's research unconditionally. Because Orochimaru was creating talents for him, he had no reason to disagree. Besides, the cells of the first Hokage were a secret to others, but it was no secret to Orochimaru. Therefore, he had no hesitation in bringing Orochimaru to see the body of the first Hokage. "Open it." Danzo gave an order, and the two roots quickly stepped forward. As the seals and iron locks were opened, the solid coffin board was also lifted. Inside the coffin was the black-haired man wearing trousers but shirtless. Man, the first Hokage Senju Hashirama. Seeing the first Hokage lying quietly in the coffin, even Orochimaru had to sigh. He is indeed the god of the ninja world, he is so powerful even in death. And the activity of this cell, it is not comparable to ordinary ninjas. After death, cells can still reproduce automatically and then regenerate. I remember that Uchiha Madara bit off a piece of meat from the first Hokage, and Danzo also gave himself a piece of meat. But now, the first Hokage, there is not a single wound on his body, which has to be said to be a miracle. Of course, Orochimaru is not surprised that the body of the first Hokage did not rot. After all, ordinary ninjas have ways to preserve corpses, not to mention the top brass of Konoha. What secret techniques and medicines should be used to ensure that the corpse does not rot? It is really not too simple. Orochimaru stepped forward slowly, attached a layer of chakra to his hand, and then grabbed the forehead of the first Hokage as if no one was watching. "Orochimaru, what are you doing?" Danzo frowned. Orochimaru said calmly, "Nothing, just checking." "Examine, what to check for?" Danzo obviously didn't understand what Orochimaru was checking. Could it be that he was checking whether the first Hokage still had any signs of life? Is this nonsense? This is hard to explain. "Okay, it's okay." Orochimaru retracted his hand. He would definitely not say that he was checking Ajura in the first Hokage's body. In fact, even now, Orochimaru is not sure what Ajura and Indra's chakra is like. Existence? Just a ball of chakra? Or does it refer to their bodies? According to the memory of Uchiha Madara's method of opening the Samsara Eye, the chakra of the first Hokage belongs to Ajura, and Uchiha Madara's belongs to Indra. But if they die, will this chakra still be Ajura and Indra? If so, how was this chakra reincarnated? If not, then after the death of the first Hokage, the cells should also its right to lose its activity. But judging from the characteristics on the remains of the first Hokage, the cells of the first Hokage still have such strong power, and they should still retain the characteristics of Ajura chakra. He shook his head and stopped thinking. Orochimaru took a deep breath. "Take it, the amount you need this time will be twice as much as last time." Danzo nodded, and ordered the person next to him to cut off a piece of flesh from the first generation fire's arm and put it in a potion bottle. After doing some special processing again, the material was covered, and then locked and sealed. He left the secret room with Orochimaru. With Orochimaru's ability, there is no need to get cells from the remains of the first Hokage. He can completely divide the cells through cloning and then regenerate them, using this method of infinite division. To get the unused cells of the first Hokage. Just because the previous amount was too small, and he once again used too much, it would be too troublesome to use the remaining amount to cultivate. So I stopped by to pick it up. But this time, should be enough. After taking the first generation Hokage cells, the next few days will be experiment time. Orochimaru returns between the laboratory and Konoha every day. His method of improving genetic modification is also simple. It is to use the diluted genetic enhancement liquid to strengthen the child's physique several times. Genetic modification is no different than genetic fusion. It does not require advanced enhancement, it only needs to be enhanced to the basic level. A genuine primary strengthening agent, after dilution, can strengthen nearly 10 people before and after, which can be said to be very cheap. Of course, no matter how cheap it is, Danzo will pay for it himself. And he didn't know that Orochimaru used strengthening fluid. Danzo brought a total of 3 groups of children back before and after, each time there were about 8 people. Orochimaru divided it into 3 batches for transformation. During this experiment, Orochimaru had no way to travel far because he needed to observe and record every day. Half a year later. A clearing on the top of a mountain several miles away from Konoha village. There are potholes everywhere here, and 2 figures, a man and a woman, intersect with each other. Drink. Boom. The woman punched out, and the ground shook. The ground also began to crack in large areas. The man flew back quickly. Tsunade, the power of your fist is very strong, but the speed is a drawback. Stop talking nonsense and watch the moves. Tsunade shouted loudly, pointed her toes, and jumped high in the air. Tenshou, drink. Boom. The powerful explosive force crushed the open space with a radius of 100 meters. For a moment, gravel flew and smoke was everywhere. Tsunade clenched her fist. Since I awakened my immortal body, my strength has indeed become stronger than before. Orochimaru, you should know the consequences of being hit by me, right? Don't worry, I won't give you this chance again. Orochimaru dodged the blow with a smile on his lips. Tsunade wanted to refute, but suddenly found something wrong. This is... The smoke gradually dissipated. Looking at the dense silver swords in the sky pointing to the ground, Tsunade was stunned. Grass, Kusanagi sword, so much? Orochimaru looked at Tsunade opposite with a smile. Do you know the name of my move? What? I'm used to calling it Wanji Ungazong, take it. Orochimaru waved his right hand, and the overwhelming Kusanagi swords rushed towards Tsunade with unparalleled sharpness. There was no way to avoid such a large-scale attack. Swish, swish. Countless sword lights came with it. The sound of breaking through the sky instantly covered the entire open space, and at the same time blocked all of Tsunade's escape routes. The ground that was originally riddled with holes was once again impacted by Orochimaru's Kusanagi sword, and countless smoke and dust filled the air again, and at the same time, there was the sound of Orochimaru's random voice. Although we are married, I will not show mercy at this time. Cut. Do you want to defeat me with this level of attack? Tsunade's voice, not to be outdone, came out from the smoke. Orochimaru couldn't help but squinted his eyes. Soon, the smoke dissipated, revealing a door that looked like hell on earth. This is, Rashomon? When did you learn this? Orochimaru used 10,000 swords to return to the sect against Tsunade? Well, it's actually a combination of magnetic release and Shuriken shadow clone technique. Using the principle of Shuriken shadow clone technique, apply it to Kusanagi sword. After quantizing Kusanagi sword, use magnetic escape to control Kusanagi sword to carry out large-scale attacks. The appearance and performance of the technique look similar to Wanji Ungazong. But in fact, it is a ninjutsu that consumes a lot of chakra but is of no use. All it takes is a stronger earth wall to block it. And even if the earth wall can be defeated due to the number of Kusanagi swords, the opponent will definitely have enough time to dodge. So Orochimaru was not worried about using this move to attack Tsunade. Tsunade only needs to hit a large number of boulders to counterattack. But even Orochimaru himself didn't expect that Tsunade didn't use the boulder to counterattack, but used Rashomon instead. Seeing this Rashomon gate like the gate of hell blocking all his Kusanagi swords, Orochimaru felt bad. Rashomon was originally the ultimate defensive ninjutsu of the first Hokage. Summoning the first level of Rashomon requires a considerable amount of chakra. The first Hokage was able to summon the 5 paths. The original Orochimaru also learned this technique because he collaborated with Danzo to study the cells of the first generation Hokage, and he was also able to summon the 3 paths. But Tsunade. I used to have a small amount of chakra, so in order to preserve chakra to heal my companions, I didn't learn this technique, but it's different now. Tsunade walked out from behind Rashomon and said with a proud smile, the chakra possessed by the immortal body is enough for me to learn many things that I could not learn before. I almost forgot, this technique originally belonged to your grandfather. Orochimaru came back to his senses. He really almost forgot about the relationship between the first Hokage and Tsunade. Now Tsunade has the body of a sage, and there is nothing wrong with learning some of his grandfather's techniques. Bang 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 bang. While people were talking, countless white smoke rose up in the open space. Rashomon disappeared, and countless Kusanagi swords also transformed into one and flew back to Orochimaru. So, shall we still fight, husband? At the end of the battle, Tsunade also changed the name of Orochimaru from his first name back to husband. The two are already married, and there is nothing wrong with calling him husband. Orochimaru has become accustomed to this title, and took the Kusanagi sword back to the different space, placing it at will. He waved his hand and said, "Forget it, that's it for today. It's not far from Konoha. If you make such a big noise, someone will come looking for you soon." "Well, let's go then." Whoosh! Orochimaru's figure flashed in front of Tsunade, put his hand on her shoulder, and flashed twice in a row before he had returned to Konoha village. A few kilometers away, for him who had buried his kunao in advance, it's just 2 space jumps. I have to say that this is the convenience of the Flying Thunder God technique. It is not only a magical skill to assist in combat, but also a magical skill to travel. As long as you have the mark of the Flying Thunder God, you can go wherever you want. It's like a bug. Of course, when the two of them fight, it's not because they are fighting for anything. It's just that they don't want to deteriorate in their combat ability because of a peaceful life. As for why they choose such a place to fight, it's because the confidentiality of the two's abilities. It's not just Orochimaru's abilities that need to be kept secret, but also Tsunade's own would release. You said your kaleidoscope has a different dimension. Then when you put away the Kusanagi sword just now, you didn't activate the kaleidoscope. Orochimaru was at a loss for words, and held back a sentence for a long time. Don't care about these details. Orochimaru's kaleidoscope does have a different dimension. And you can indeed put things in it. But in effect, it is inferior to Uchiha Obito's. Not only can I not enter it myself, but I also cannot install other people. I can only install some ninja tools or items just like the system warehouse. Perhaps the only advantage is that it can absorb items faster than Obito's Kamui. Hidden weapons such as flying kunao and shurikens can be directly received into a different space by just looking at them with a kaleidoscope. As for transferring items without opening the kaleidoscope, there is no doubt that Orochimaru uses the system. Tsunade had her doubts about this, but these little problems were no problem at all. Because now Orochimaru uses whatever excuse he wants, and she thinks it is reasonable in her heart. Just like the issue of having a baby. Orochimaru only said one thing: now is not the right time to have a child, and there is no time to teach him after giving birth. Tsunade could only let it go. Tuk tuk tuk. There was a sudden knock on the door. Orochimaru, who had just returned to the house, was a little confused when he heard this voice. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Who would come to him at this time? Squeak. The door is open. Looking at the girl with long black hair at the door, Orochimaru was even more confused. Mikoto, why are you here? It was Tsunade-sama who called me here. Uchiha Mikoto was embarrassed and a little embarrassed. Tsunade. Hearing this, Orochimaru raised his eyebrows. Why would Tsunade call Uchiha Mikoto over? The two not only have family grudges, but also have personal conflicts. Mikoto, I asked her to come, let her come in. Tsunade's voice sounded in time. Well, after some understanding, Orochimaru was sure. Mikoto was indeed called by Tsunade, and the purpose was the same as Orochimaru's. Let her clean the house? After the two got married, Naoki lived alone in the Senju clan. And Tsunade naturally no longer had to run around. She moved here openly and lived a real life as a couple with Orochimaru. Tsunade can also do things like hygiene. A little, but she is obviously lazier than Orochimaru, so she often issues tasks to find people to do hygiene. Of course, this is not the point. The point is that she has contacted Uchiha Mikoto in private, and she is asked to do such tasks every time. This is a bit strange. Orochimaru was doing experiments before, so he only knew that Tsunade was asking someone to clean up, and he didn't know that the person who came was Uchiha Mikoto. You said, she is the one you look for every time? In the living room, looking at the girls who were busy in the study, Orochimaru was really puzzled. He had no idea what Tsunade was singing. Yes. Why? Tsunade also imitated Orochimaru's appearance and curled her lips. Don't you think this girl is getting more and more beautiful? What does this have to do with you asking her to do a mission? In this way, you can see her often. I want to ask if Orochimaru has ever thought about other women? There must be. Because man is such a creature. Eating what's in the bowl and thinking about what's in the pot, even if there is a beautiful crystal orchid at home, he will still be thinking about the peonies and tulips outside. This is man's nature. Although not all men will be like this, men who do not have this nature either have problems with themselves or do not have the conditions. As long as everything is normal and there is such an opportunity, almost 99% of men will choose to pick that wild flower. Therefore, after what Tsunade said, Orochimaru quickly understood. It was Tsunade's intention to let Mikoto come to work at home. The purpose is just to have some fun in life. You know, there are no entertainment facilities in the current ninja world. The two are married and have no children. At their level, there is no need to train day and night. Therefore, it is easy for them to be idle, especially those who are more active like Tsunade, who will feel bored when they are idle. When I am bored, I will think about this thing. At the beginning, she would still gamble, but after Orochimaru told her twice, she rarely gambled anymore. So she began to think about other fun. She thought a lot and played a lot. Uchiha Mikoto is one of her many hobbies. Because she discovered that this girl seemed to be really interested in Orochimaru. Although she didn't show it in her actions, how could Tsunade, one of the Sunin, not notice the emotions and eyes she showed inadvertently? And Orochimaru's insight is sharper than Tsunade's, so he naturally knows everything. So, can you see her often? Orochimaru raised his lips. Tsunade, don't you know you are playing with fire? Playing with fire? Tsunade picked up the water glass on the table and took a sip. She smiled nonchalantly and said, I really want to play. Orochimaru can be sure that Tsunade's unrestrained attitude is absolutely inseparable from his daily training. Mikoto, can you make us a pot of tea? Before Orochimaru could speak, Tsunade suddenly shouted. Of course, Tsunade-sama, please wait. Mikoto's gentle voice also came out. Seeing this scene, Orochimaru stood up helplessly. You are so boring. Oh, husband, don't leave. I don't have time to play with you, so I went to study Flying Thunder God. Orochimaru waved his hand and walked straight towards the backyard. In fact, why did he suddenly choose to marry Tsunade? It was just that he suddenly figured it out and wanted to try to find a spiritual destination. As a result, in Tsunade you can indeed feel some sense of home in your hands. But for Konoha? Although it's not a dislike, I still can't love it. When I came to the backyard alone, the surrounding space fluctuated several times. Several Flying Thunder God kunao flew out and stopped in the air, and then automatically dispersed in several directions. The mark of the Flying Thunder God is known as the Mark of Death. Once it is engraved in battle, you can only wait for death. And there is almost no way to remove this mark. Even if it is more than 10 or 20 years later, it will still exist. Just like the original Uchiha Obito. If he hadn't become the Ten Tails Jinhyuriki, he wouldn't have been able to remove this mark. What Orochimaru needs to improve now is not the technique, but the interval between each transmission. In my memory, Namikaze Minato's use of this technique can be regarded as seamless. It can be said that there is no pause in the middle of each transmission. Flash forward, backward, left and right. But the second generation Hokage was obviously worse. Although he could teleport smoothly, there was a certain pause. Even if this pause is only a second or two, this time is fatal to Flying Thunder God. So Orochimaru needs to find the gap and improve it. On the other side, watching Orochimaru leave the living room and go to the backyard, Tsunade suddenly felt a little bored, but when she saw Mikoto making tea for herself in the kitchen, she seemed to think of something else. She slowly stood up and walked towards Mikoto. "Mikoto, how about, can you teach me how to make tea?" "Well? Tsunade-sama, do you want to learn this?" Well, I am idle anyway." The kitchen of Orochimaru's mansion. Two women from the Uchiha clan and the Senju clan come together? The style of the painting is a bit strange, but it is a fact. And if this scene is seen by others, it will definitely become Konoha's once again headlines.